Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Morning, people. Hope everyone's good. Bank holiday Monday, extra day off. I'm sure nobody is complaining. Only thought is the weather says it's probably going to rain today. So who knows? That's England. That's our weather for you. 1 minute it's hot, 1 minute it's cold. Sounds like Tottenham, really, doesn't it? 1 minute it looks like it's all hot and good at Spurs. Next thing you know, it's pissing down with rain and back to square one again. So, wasn't that a bit of a mad weekend? FA Cup, Man United. Their worst season ever in the Premiership, if I remember correctly. And they still go and get an FA Cup. I suppose it was just one of those things that was meant to be. Or maybe it's just the fact that the club wins something. That's 2 trophies he's got now. That Ten Hag. I mean, technically, he's done better than Arteta at Arsenal. Really. So, it's going to be interesting to see whether he stays or goes. A lot of people saying he's off. I need my coffee. It's like a second hit. Other people are saying that because he's won the FA Cup, they might just keep him. Who knows? In some aspects, who cares? As long as they keep doing crap in the league. But we really can't. Did they have a better season than us? Well, yeah, really. I mean, look, in the league, yeah, we've done them hands down. But they've got exactly what we've got, which is Europa Cup, and they've got an FA Cup to show for it. Which is more than we've had in, 16, 17 years now. So a lot of people debating about it. Have Man U had a better season than Spurs? Spurs finished significantly higher, played better, whatever. No. They won an FA Cup. We won absolutely jack. Nothing. Yeah, 5th place. Can't complain. It all right at the end of the season. We've got the Europa Cup. But you know what really bugs me with this? We could have still had that League Cup if Ange would have took it serious. And I don't think he did. Now, this is going to be a problem that I think we've got coming with winning a cup. Because anyone who thinks we're going to go for that league, good luck to you. Hope. Each their own at the end of the day. I mean, I hope we win the league. I hope we win something. But I don't see that league anytime soon. But after this season, you know, Daniel Levy is going to be saying to Ange, I want that 4th place, or I want to be in top 4, whatever. Don't care if you win it or not. I want top 4. Don't worry about the cups. I want top 4. And that is where I think is going to be one of our biggest problems, to get a cup. Because we all know he's going to get told, we need top 4. We want that money, because that is what Levy cares about. I mean, on the money side of things, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me just say hello to a few people on the sides. Mapping, we got fun and games, don't we always at Spurs? That's why I say welcome to the jungle, because that's what it literally is at Spurs, a jungle. And Tony, big up. Dan, big up to you too, mate. Always good to see you on here. Hope you're doing well. Just a harmless potato. Good morning, Tony. And big up to you, Dan, chat, and potential guests. Always good to see you on here, harmless potato. Lily White, hope you're doing well, mate. Morning, Dan. Hope you're well, mate. Everyone in the chat is good. And Wayne, morning to you too, mate. And David Green, morning, Dan. Thank you for helping me out with that fire stick. Much appreciated, bro. I hope everything works on that for you. The code I sent you for, you should, hopefully, you'll understand that when you've done everything that the video tells you to do. And then you basically, as long as you've got a good internet, mate, it's all free. I mean, who wants to pay for half the crap that we have to watch? Morning to you too, Wayne. 1 central defensive midfielder, 2 left winger, 3 a striker. Well, yeah, that's definitely what we need. I mean, I'd say we need a winger on both sides, but he's going by priorities. And Chang, how you doing this morning, mate? Hope you're good. A very good Monday morning to the one and only Mr. Daniel E from HotspurHood. Feels somewhat strange, an off killer, not to have a post-week review and a topsy-turvy season. Thanks for the content. No, thanks for you being on, mate. And it's true, it does feel a bit strange. I mean, what do you go on and talk about on your shows now? Now you've got no game to have the ump with, or you've got no game to be happy with. It feels weird when the football season's not on. Almost too quiet. But we have got the Euros coming up, and we have got the transfer windows coming up. And we all know when it comes to the transfer windows, Spurs are going to be involved by the press with everything. That'll just be another show on how it comes on. And Raider Yid, morning Dan, happy Monday. Yep, bank holiday Monday, mate. Hope you're good as well. Bill, morning Dan, mate. Morning to you too. Tony, of course they had a better season. They won a cup. Exactly, that's my point. But there's a lot of people out there who seem to think we had the better season because we were higher in the league. Yeah, if you want to go by league and everything, yes, we had the better season that, but they got Europa Cup, we got Europa Cup, and they got an FA Cup to show for it. And Browley, morning all. Morning to you too, mate. And what's Ray saying here? I would take United all season, all day long, Levy out. Exactly. Mate, I said this at the start of the season. You know what? If we would have finished 10th or even 15th, yes, we'd have been going off our head. But if we'd have got an FA Cup at the end of it, or even a League Cup, a Cup, I think a few of us would have been happy and say, do you know what? We'll let you go for this crap season. And yeah, you got us a cup. So we'll let this season out the window and you would have got us a cup. And that's all I keep saying to it. It's something I want to see at Spurs, but something it just doesn't look like we got any hope of getting anytime soon. And Tony, for F's sake, only the Kumbaya singing, sitting around the campfire, thinks we're going to win the league next season. Well, people do. And good luck to them. Good luck for having that hope. If you think we can genuinely do it and you've got the hope for it, good luck to you, mate. Good luck to you, people. I just don't see it happening anytime in the future. It's like that light at the end of the tunnel. I must admit, I don't see any light for winning that league. I don't see how we can catch up with the likes of City. I just don't see how we can do it. And at the moment, we're about, 5 years behind Arsenal now? So they say. It was quite good that they didn't win anything, though. And Lee, hi, mate. Hi to you too. Shem, morning to you too, mate. Everyone in the chat. And Mark Saunders. Morning all. Yeah, agree. Levy all about the cash. We had top four and now desperate for any trophy. Well, we definitely are. But one of the new ones that came in for me, and it's just the same news over and over again. The money income at Spurs. We've now just signed up a deal with Travis Scott. That's a big deal. To have between 3 and 4 concerts at least, with possible more. That is going to bring in some serious money. And then the club has also applied for another 30 non-football events to go on before the season starts. This is just what I've read. Whether it can go by fact or not, of course it can't, but I can only go from what I read in the Euros, in the newspapers, and another 30 events in that time. The amount of money that must bring into the club is unreal. But are we going to see that go over to the football side? That one, we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, it's another one. Is that money actually going to finally get put into the club? But it's all good having the money to go into the club. We need to make sure we buy the right bloody players as well. And some of the ones we've been looking at, it doesn't give you much hope. I mean, one bit of good news, and I do hate to say this on it being bad on the player, but he's with Timo Werner. From what I've read on a couple of things, it turns out that his hamstring is a grade 3, which means there is a proper tear in the hamstring. And rumour has it that his club, Leipzig, have put his price down to 5 million. 5 million? That's cheap. But do we really want to take in a player that has already got is possibly out for up to 3 months and might even need an operation? If we do, that it just makes things even more stupid. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people on here know my opinion, and that is if we get Timo Werner, then I'm going to be Ange out, because he's the one who says any player comes into the club is my say, but then contradicts himself later on by admitting that maybe some are the club's say. Where do we stand? We don't know where we actually stand with this man now, because I'm sure I don't. And Timo Werner, if he picks Timo Werner there to play this way of football that he plays, which is sometimes suicidal, then we have to play a you score 3, we score 4. Why would you want someone like Timo Werner up there who's going to get you maybe 6 goals, 7 goals a season? It makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. But if he sees he's good enough, then he sees he's good enough. But then I think our manager is half blind. And Clement, big up to everyone. Big up to you too, mate. Phil, morning. Dan, morning to you too. JME, what are you saying here? With the Euros coming up, most players will be overpriced, especially if they have a good tournament. Yep. That is why I don't think you're going to see that much go on before the Euros, because there's going to be a lot of clubs that have got a decent player on there that know their player is going to be wanted, but if they have a crap Euros, they're still going to be the same price. But if they have a very good Euros, you know that price is going to go up an extra 25%. This is where it is a proper sticky position. We want these transfers early, same as every club wants these transfers early. Get them done. But with these Euros in the way, this is going to be hard because players, they're going to be concentrated on their country. And it's like I said, clubs are going to be hoping that they do have a good Euros, which will put an extra 65, which put an extra 25% on the price, which could be 10 million, could be 20 million, all depending on the price of the player. It's like one we're meant to be looking at. I mean, I have to write my things down, otherwise I forget them. Is player Lewis Openda from Leipzig, 23, Belgium, 28 goals and 7 assists. And they're talking about a 50, 60 million price for him. But they won't sell him before the Euros. I can't say I've heard much about the player. I don't really follow the German league that much. But the one or two things I have heard, good striker, also plays in attacking midfield. And one thing we definitely need to look at here is a striker. With the money that we now have coming into the club and the money we have got, especially with these Travis Scott concerts and the other non-football events that they're bringing in there, surely some of that money has got to be given to the football side now. Surely. It seems like we spend the most money when we don't actually get in the Champions League. That's how I've always seen it work. Because where we're not in the Champions League, that extra big bit of money that Levy wants isn't coming in. So he puts that bit extra into the club to get us back into the top four. And then we're back to square one again, basically. As long as we stay in top four, Levy's happy. I mean, another striker that we're meant to be looking at is one I'm very 50-50 with. Ivan Toney. As an all-round striker, I suppose you could rate him as a poor man's Harry Kane because he's got a little bit of everything, except he's got that one thing Harry didn't have, which is pace. And he's meant to be going at around about 40, 50 million, but he's also going to the Euros as well. Where we've got Harry Kane on there, I don't see my man getting many goals. I don't see him playing much at all. So I don't think we really have to worry about him having a good Euros that much, unless Harry Kane gets injured or unless we have to double it up front on the last minute and he comes in and puts a couple in the back of the net and it goes from there. But 40 million for him, I wouldn't say no to that. And I don't think there's really much better offers out there. I don't like the fella's attitude, I must admit. He does seem to have a chip on his shoulder, thinks the world owes him something for whatever reasons, who knows. But he is a proven goal scorer in the Premiership. And that is something we definitely need at Spurs. An out-and-out striker. Son can't carry this on. I got it wrong at the start of the season. I was one of the ones saying he's done on the left because he's losing pace. Stick him up front. Now, going up front, he didn't have a bad season. What was it? 16, 17 goals? 17 goals, I think it was. So he didn't do bad up there. But you could tell in certain situations against certain teams, when it was all blocked up the front, he couldn't do anything. It's just not his style. And I think we're better off putting him back on the left. Because when we did put him back on the left, he looked happy again. But his last 10 games, and I think you can say about most of our players on their last 10 games of the season, was absolutely shocking. Bar maybe what? Romero, Vicario, Van der Ven. Porro, okay, had his moments. But the rest of it, it just looked all over the place. Looked a total mess. I mean, that midfield we've got is just frustrating. Some people think the midfield we've got isn't good in any means or manner. I've got to disagree with it. I'm not saying we got world-class players on there, but we definitely have some players with capability on there. I mean, Bentancur, we all know the problem is the ACL injury. Is he going to come back from that overall? Who knows? I think we played him too early. He got injured again, and I think he just basically busted the rest of his season. But we do know that Bentancur is a good player. Sarr, good player. I think the problem is with Sarr at the moment is I don't even think he knows what his prime position is at the minute. Is he an attacking midfielder? Is he box to box? Can he work as a DM? I don't think we actually know his main style of play at the moment. I think Ange is still trying to work it out himself. But out of all the strikers we got, I'd say he was the one who actually had the most consistent season. Yep, again, last 5-10 games, poor, same as the rest of them. But out of all of them, he looked like he had the most consistent season out of everyone. Maddison, what a flop that turned out to be. Yeah, maybe a harsh word. His first 10 games, absolutely solid. But then after then, when he came back, he scored what? A goal, maybe an assist or two, and maybe 1 or 2 games where he actually looked like a threat on the pitch. We did get the warning off of Leicester. When he gets injured, he takes a long time to come back. Well, he took a bloody long time, and he didn't come back to those standards. So Maddison, yeah, for me, considering how he started this season, he was brilliant. And then after that injury, he just fell to pieces. Basuma, another one. I bigged him up so much at the start of the season. I know what this fella is capable of. He can run a midfield. And he did again for the first 10 games. Got sent off, had his time off, and then the player, bar 1 or 2 games, has been absolutely shit ever since. And that is the only way I can describe it, really. He has been terrible. But he's another one, we know he's got the capability. So in this midfield, there is capability there. And it did work at the start of the season. But it all fell to pieces. Why? When they're doing that well, how did it just fall to pieces like it did? It's frustrating. I don't even know how to go into it to describe it, really. I just don't know why they fell apart so badly. It wasn't like they had an off couple of games. It was like after the first games of the season, they just absolutely, the season just fell apart on them. Could they handle Ange's style of play? Well, obviously they could, because they was doing it for the first 10 games. Who knows what we're going to do? I mean, I know Højbjerg's off, and the one we're looking at is Gallagher. I'll get to him in a minute. So, right, Clement, what are you saying here, mate? Dan, I think those kids won the cup for nothing because none of them will be promoted to the senior team. It's just a waste of talent. Oh, I get what you mean with the under-21s. I can't say I follow the under-21s that much. But again, we haven't used none of the youth, really. I mean, in that last game against Sheffield, to bring them on when we're 3-0 up with 2 minutes left, why didn't we bring them on after 70 minutes? We could have. I mean, all we needed was a point, really. And when you're 3-0 up against a team that's conceded over 100 goals, I really don't see why he didn't use the youth more. He had options in other games to use the youth, and he just didn't. He didn't do it. Another frustrating one. We could go and get rid of about 8 or 9 players. Whether we can get these players out is going to be a different story or not. I think we're going to have to offer to cut some contracts out, basically, because I can't see many people wanting to buy the crap that we need to get rid of. We're going to have to basically do what Arsenal did. But we're going to have to get the players in as well. It's going to be a tricky transfer window for sure. And Jamie, what are you saying here? With Euros coming up, certain players will be overpriced, especially if they have a good tournament. That's basically what I've been saying. I totally agree with you there. And Ryan, big up Dan and chat, 100%. Any trophy is a good season. I hate the fact that the fan base belittles trophies. Why do we belittle the trophies, though? We belittle the trophies so much because we don't win them. And that is what I think it comes down to. Whereas if we was winning League Cups every other season, we'd be bigging it up non-stop. But because we don't actually win anything, we belittle it. It's sort of like your way of just getting out of it, basically. Just look on it like an object. Then you can slate it because it's just an object. It's nothing. We want bigger. We got bigger fish to fry at Spurs. Yeah, sure we have. Sure we have. Nothing. Nothing to show for it. So anyone who belittles any of the trophies now, take me back 5-6 years now. I'd say about 6 years now. I was one of the ones that didn't care about the League Cup, didn't care about the FA Cup, whatever. Just wanted to get us in top 4. And that was that. As time's gone on, I've realised that we've got absolutely nothing to show. We need cups. I don't care about Champions League anymore. In that, we are nothing but a number. Yes, we made a final, but we all know there was a lot of luck on our side with that as well. In the final, weren't so lucky, was it? But it's all good keep getting in the Champions League and just being a number in it. But we still got no silverware to show. And that is what has changed me to, you know what, screw the Champions League. I couldn't care less now. I just want us to win a trophy. I know it just keeps repeating myself, and I know everyone else sits there and says the same to themselves, or a lot of people do. But then there's others out there who just want to be in the Champions League. And Tony, big up to Eugin. Yeah. And Phil, big up Danny and everyone in the magnificent chat. Any fan for saying we had better than United as a loser mentality? I would take a cup every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. I totally agree with you. And JME, with the Euros coming up, certain players will be overpriced. Yep. I have to have a good tournament. What's the music name on your intro? If you go on to the describe of the page and everything, it's all written on there. Mark Cousins, there was rugby there Saturday, I think. That's what I'm saying. They've got about 30 different events there at the moment, non-football events, all booked up for before the football even starts again. So we know there is significant income there. Whether it goes to Tottenham or not, again, only time will tell, I suppose. Winning the trophy was the... Yeah, I wish I knew as well. And morning to you too, Shem. What we need to do is what United did. Bring some investor in, maybe 25, maybe 20% of the shares, and let them deal with all the football matters. Levy has had 24 years, and he has proven not to care about the team. You know what? Even if we got someone in who took over 20%, 25% of the club, I honestly don't see us... I don't see Levy stepping out of it. I really don't. He's got his hands in too many pies there. It's like he wants to be part of that system. He wants to be part of it. And he wants to get all the big up for if we did win something. He's not going to step out of that anytime soon. Not unless the top bod turns around and says, I'm selling up. But then Levy don't have to sell his part. But if we was to sell up the main part of the club, then they would be able to have control over it, and Levy would just basically be told to sit down. He might have a little say in what goes on, but pardon me. But apart from that, we would have to sell the whole club basically to get his say out of it. And I just don't see it happening. There is too much income in this place now. It is too strong. That is why I say welcome to the jungle. It's basically a jungle of money of what we have coming in Spurs now. The cash cow that stadium is shockingly unreal. And we need that money for the players now. And just harmless potato. Leipzig won't get rid of him. He gets no game time. Leipzig want to get rid of him, sorry. He gets no game time at Leipzig. All that tells me is he can't be good enough for us. And we're up to a 3-month injury. I know you're on about Werner, and we're up to a 3-month injury. And the fact that they are willing to let him go for about 5 mil now just about says everything, doesn't it? It just about describes the whole thing. Why would they be willing to let him go for that cheap? Because they don't want him because he doesn't get the job done. But then it's another perfect one for Levy to look at and go, oh, there's a player, 5 mil. I can get him in there in the squad and he can sit there and do whatever. Levy don't care. Does the manager want him? That is my question. Do you know what? That is what I'd really want the answer of. Just be straight with us, Ange. Be honest with us. Admit that a lot of the players that come in, if not all of them, weren't your choice and you just got given them. Why did he have to sit there and say every player that comes in is my call? He basically shot himself in the foot doing it. I think he's an idiot for that. There's a couple of things he has said that he really did not have to say, and it has done him no favours at all. But again, if my manager wants to bring in Timo Werner because he wants to score goals, then his hopes aren't very high and we're not going to get very far from it. I mean, his assists isn't good either. Like I've said, he's a poor man's Son. He plays exactly the same way as Son. It's just he's absolutely crap at it. And Ryan, what are you saying here? What other club questions? They signings? We always wonder, is it club or manager signing? That itself sums it up. Exactly. But Conte was one who stood there and blatantly stated that Spence wasn't his call. And Phil, let's be honest, Wembley used to be our second home. Since Wembley Stadium has been redeveloped, we've been sadly evicted. It's true. As all Spurs have ever really been, at our peak, is a cup club. We've never been league winners, bar once or twice. But apart from that, we have never been a league team. We have always been a cup team. And we're not even that anymore. We don't even see the cups anymore. We've never been ones to really go out and challenge for the league on a regular basis. Like I said, we've won it a couple of times and we've challenged for it a couple of times. We have always been a cup team, always have been a cup club. But we don't even see that anymore. And just a harmless potato, but Dan, that's my argument with Stel. We know how the club is run. We all know about the PR spins off. And if we sign Werner, then it's fair to conclude Ange is not getting backed properly. So what is that to do with an argument with Stel? Maybe I just read that wrong. But that's what he says as well. Like if we get Werner, it just about says it all. And the other point he makes, we can't keep changing managers. I agree. That is why I say that Ange needs next season, or at least till December, to get his players in to see how this can work, if he can actually get this system working. He needs that bit more time. But with his style of play, unless we get the right players in, and I don't just mean the first 11, I mean the entire squad, this way just is not going to work for the Premiership. The Premiership is too good to play game in, game out, Ange's style of football. But in the last 2 games, he gave me that bit of hope. He adapted a little bit. He changed a few things that were noticeable. But then there's the frustrating side where why did he leave it to the last 2 games of the season before he actually started making changes that were significant? And then I get told, well, you can't win with people like toxic people like you. You finally get what you want and you're still complaining about it. Yeah, when it's too little too late, I will still complain about it. When I can see what was going wrong with the club in the way we were pushed so far up all the time and this zonal marking crap that he didn't change until the last couple of games, I just think, why didn't you see it earlier? But at least he has seen it now. At least he's given me, and I reckon a few others on here, a bit of hope that he can play football in a different way. He had me to the point where it wasn't even where I was thinking, is he stubborn? Is he naive? Has he got a problem with it? Ange actually had me to the point where I was wondering, does he actually know another way to play football? Has he even got another idea how to play football? Or does he only know this one way? That is what he had me thinking. But he has proved now that he has got different ideas. Let's see if he sticks to doing it. Because there's certain games where you do have to change. because you're just not as good as that team, or they're that much quicker, or they've got someone who can pass that ball straight over from the back over the top of where we are. Only time will tell on this one. It's going to be all to do with the transfers, and it's going to be all to do up until December before I start making a proper judgment on him. And Peter, morning to you too, mate. And hi all, 7:45 p.m. in Melbourne. Cool. It's only 11 o'clock in the morning here, mate. And Rhythmatic, afternoon. Well, Mush, I know where that sort of language comes from, mate. Grew up around it most of my time, if we're on about the same thing. And Alex Scott, the Euros is the perfect excuse for Daniel Levy to say, we tried to sign that star, but his price kept going up. Yeah, it is. But again, try and have a bit of faith in this one. I'm trying to, because otherwise I'm just going to pull out what hair I got left. And Rowley, Birkin, QC, 12th in an FA Cup is better than 5th and no trophy, unless next year we win a trophy and the better league position qualified us for it. Yeah, I can understand that. But for this season, like a lot of people have said, Man U had the better season. Now, one cup I do think we're going to take serious next season. Again, I don't think the FA Cup is going to get taken seriously, or the League Cup, because Levy wants that 4th place. But I can also see Levy telling him that if you're going to take a cup serious, take that Europa League serious, because the winner of that gets us in the Champions League, and that is what he wants to do. And if we end up getting into, say we finish 5th or 6th again, but we win that Europa Cup, we've then won a cup and we're in the Champions League. Everybody's happy now. I think, if anything, I'd concentrate on that Europa Cup even more. Yeah, because it does. It wins us something and it gets us in the Champions League. With that, like I said, you're an all-round winner. So I do hope that we take this Europa Cup seriously. I really do. And I also think the Europa Cup is now at a stage of what it used to be like when it was the UEFA Cup. Yes, it was the downgrade from the Champions Cup or the Champions League, whatever it was at the time. And over the past 5 years, it's just been a bit of a looked on as just a bit of a Mickey Mouse Cup, basically. But now we're not having the hand-me-downs from the Champions League to it, because I think that was another thing that bugged a lot of teams. All the good teams from the Champions League, well, I say good teams, the ones that got kicked out of it, but still significantly better than the majority in the Europa Cup, are getting handed down to it. It was another part of it that was a bit of a nightmare. Out of all the teams in it, from what I've seen, I mean, we haven't even got to worry about Roma anymore because they're in the Champions League, where Atalanta won the Europa Cup. Man U is probably our biggest threat in there. You would have thought there's a couple of other all right teams in there, but I think we have got more than the capability at Spurs to go and win that Europa Cup if we concentrate on it. Hopefully we do. Again, just back to the same thing. I want us to win something. And just a harmless potato. Apendo is class. Only saw highlights though. Very versatile attacker, technically gifted, quick, can play across the front three, but he's too small to play central forward in the Premiership. Pardon me. In that one, if we get him, only time will tell. But there's not exactly many other options out there for a striker, is there? We've now hit that stage where striker is the hardest one to get hold of. If you want to go back, let's say 10 years, a striker was easy enough to get hold of, and it was the defenders that were the hardest ones to get. Now it seems to have taken a total spin, and defenders, good defenders out there, there's plenty to get. I mean, one I'd love to see us to get is Milenkovic from Fiorentina. I've rated him for about 4 years. But strikers, Few and far between. I mean, people say about us going for Vlahovic. Dream on. We would not pay that man's wages. I mean, I can't take it 100%, but as far as I know, he's on about 250 at Juventus. We're not going to pay that for him. We're not going to pay his wages. Vlahovic, I think that one's out the window totally. The other one we're meant to be looking at is that Solanke. What's his name? Dominic Solanke, Bournemouth. I don't think he's quite got the quality of what we need at Spurs up front. But then I'm saying that when we've got Richarlison up there, which is another one where there's news that Saudi Arabia clubs are meant to be definitely interested in 30, 40 million. But then there's the other side of it saying he doesn't want to leave. You can't really force a player to leave if he doesn't want to. Yeah, you can threaten not to play him and that. But if he does not want to go, it's going to be very hard to get him out of the club. He is one player I would like to see disappear. Tony, what are you saying here, mate? When all the fans understand that Levy couldn't care less about trophies, what really needs to happen, I'm worried about the intelligence and level of some fans. Again, mate, it's opinions. It's each to their own at the end of the day. But I must admit, I do agree with you. Anyone can see that Levy is no more than a businessman. I personally don't see that. But then other people believe in other things. Each their own. Everyone's allowed their own opinion at the end of it. I just haven't got to agree with it, and I haven't got to respect it. Philly 2109. No one put a gun to Ange's head and told him to say every signing was his. If Ange feels let down by the club, he could easily follow the lead of Conte and Pochettino and walk. Well, that was why some said Pochettino walked from Chelsea, wasn't it? Because they said that basically it looks like this Conor Gallagher deal is happening for 40, 50 million because Chelsea need that money. And he was like, well, he's my captain. I don't want him to go. And Chelsea have basically said, well, bollocks, we need the money and he's off. And then when they're meant to have also, again, I'm only going by what the papers say, when they're meant to have told him, like, basically, we decide who comes into this club and who goes, not you. You are just a coach. He's meant to have basically said, do you know what? I had this shit at Spurs. I ain't taking it here. I'm off. It's going to be interesting to see them try and get a manager. I mean, another reason why it would be stupid to get rid of Ange right now. Because look at the trouble Munich are having at the moment, getting a manager. There's not many managers out there, or elite managers, as people would call them. There's a lot of up-and-coming managers, but a lot of managers that have got something to prove that they can do it in a big league. It's all good doing it in Scotland. It's all good doing it in Holland, even France. But a majority of it is a lot of a lower standard league than the Premiership. And a few managers that have come in and have shown that, and they've struggled. Munich can't get a manager come love nor money, and they're one of the biggest clubs on the planet. But it's very strict the way they have it at Munich. They are extremely strict with their ways. And that is why so many managers struggle there. And now they're at the point where they're meant to be looking at Company, who's at a club that just got relegated, to take over at Bayern Munich. That's got to tell you something. And Rowley, what you're saying here, Rowley, that's, forgive me pronouncing names, mate. I'm absolutely shocking at it. But top four is the business model. Yes, it is. And Alex, even if we get into the Champions League, Levy won't spend enough to help us win a title push. It's a pointless excuse. Look, we're not going to go for a title anyway, mate. So that last bit, you might as well cancel it out. But I see Levy putting in more money if we're not in the top four because he wants us in that top four. Eltel Cockerell, hope you're doing all right, mate. Hope you're having a good morning. The one fact is Euros start around mid-June and clubs need to balance their books by the 30th of June. But the Euros finish mid-July. So surely players will move before the end of the June deadline. Do you know what, mate? Fair play. I didn't look on it in that aspect. I think you might have a bit of a point there. There are going to be some that need that money yesterday, and I can understand where you're coming from there, but then I can also see it with a lot of clubs don't necessarily need that money in there, and they're gonna just wait until the money goes up. But there's definitely transfers that can be made. That's a solid point, mate. I'll give you that one. I didn't even look on it from that side. Fair play, solid point. And I have a guest this morning now with me. And good morning, Brian. How are we doing?
I'm all right, brother. It's early again in the morning here in Toronto, but you sent the link. I was up, and I was like, I'm going to go spend some time with Dan and his community. So I hope you're good, brother, and everyone in the chat.
Yeah, been a shocking few past week or so. Sleeping that has been a nightmare. I think it must just be the change of the weather. I can see it's daylight where you are as well.
Yeah, thank God. Like yesterday when I came on Alan's show, it was pitch black, and then it got lighter during the stream. But yeah, it looks like we just had a huge thunderstorm as well. Although yesterday was boiling hot here, boiling.
Oh, I do love a good thunderstorm. I actually find them quite relaxing. I mean, I'm one of the weird ones that go sit out in the back here while it's pissing down with rain with the lightning, thunder, and everything else. I actually find them quite relaxing. But then that's just me being a bit strange in that aspect, I suppose. So, a couple of things we've been talking about on here and that. I mean, I'm pretty sure what your opinion's going to be anyway, but let's hear everyone else hear it. We've now got to deal with Travis Scott. Minimum of 3 to 4 concerts.
Yeah.
And then up to another 30 non-football events signed up, but they haven't said particularly what ones, before the season even starts. Surely that has got to be a significant amount of income that can be put towards the club, the football.
Yeah. Listen, Dan, when it comes to this, I'm actually one that is actually happy that these things happen. I wish it happened every single non-match day for events to be happening to generate that income. That's what that stadium is there for. But like you said, it generates the income, but do we see it in the first team? I get annoyed when we announce Travis Scott because they take pride in announcing this more than they do actually going for targets and actually going for players. It's so frustrating to see. Oh, look, Travis Scott is coming. Oh, look, this one's coming. Oh, look, Pig's coming. Brilliant. Well, that money needs to go to Ange Postecoglou. And transfers need to be done. I understand why we sometimes haggle. If a player says that they want 50, let's say Chelsea want 50 for Gallagher, I can understand testing the water at 42.5, 45.
Yeah,
but when Spurs go in and go 27, and they're like, no, and then we spend all this time wasting building up to it. I can't remember who said it in your chat before. We've mentioned this before. Everyone talks about this being the big transfer window. Well, there's a Copa America and Euros right bang smack in the middle of it. So when you look at it, transfer activity has got to be done. Transfer activity needs to be done speedily. Transfer activity needs to be acted upon very, very quickly to get deals done. And let's just say that's not our forte, is it?
No, like what happened with Trossard, wasn't it?
Don't get me started with that deal. Honestly, I think I've told this story on your channel before anyway, but the day we were going to Manchester City last season, I went up with Ben from We Are Tottenham TV when we lost 4-2. We'd offered the 12 million. Ben picked me up from my house in North London and Arsenal put a bid in. We hadn't even got to Birmingham.
And the deal was done.
Romero gave the here we go. That's how long that deal took. From London in a car to before Birmingham, which is what, depending on how quick you drive, about an hour and a half, hour and a quarter. That's how quick that deal went through. And we went in with 12 million.
I'm totally with you on the business side of it, in the aspect of like, yeah, try your luck a bit. If he's 50, offer him 40. But when you know there's someone else looking straight over your shoulder,
yeah,
you got to move quick. It's like on Black Friday when you go into Blue Water Shopping Centre. Anyone don't know what that is? That's one of the biggest shopping centres in England and in Europe. Only 20 minutes from where I live. You go in there, the place is Ramo. You see something on that shelf on sale for 30 quid. You literally have to force to grab that before someone else does. It is literally like a punch up in the place. And there is fights in there over stuff like that. But my point of it is, when the deal is there, you got to take it. Sometimes don't piss ball about with, like, I'll give you 42 instead of 50, whatever else. When you know there's other clubs looking and there's a deal on that table, bang, take it. Like we did with Maddison, basically. That was one where we stepped in and snapped it up. But we hardly ever do that, do we? We usually take the whole transfer window.
What you need to add with the Maddison deal is if Leicester hadn't got relegated,
it wouldn't have happened.
It may have happened, but it wouldn't have done as smoothly, and it wouldn't have been 40 million. Big up, brother Ryan. And look who's in the house, my man Ray. My man.
We are just terrible. I mean, look at Van der Ven. How long did that take us to get the deal done? Now, I know a lot of that was down to the fact that we wanted Tapsoba. But I think it got to the point.
Sorry, Dan, the other bit very quickly is they weren't letting him go until they found a replacement. Whereas we do the opposite. We'll ship him out and then go, I don't want, like Harry Kane. Before bringing in a replacement, we'll ship him out and then everyone knows we need that position.
And then the price of everything goes up.
Correct. Or another team comes on. Bruno Fernandes. When, if you watch the documentary, we were waiting for Christian Eriksen to go out to have the money to then bring a reinforcement in. Well, why don't you make your team stronger because you know that money's coming in and get it out that way? That's the other thing with Van der Ven. But you were right. It was Tapsoba was wanted as well.
It's like when you've got the money, you don't throw it about to tell everyone you've got the money, do you?
No.
Now, if I want to make a couple of deals out there and I've actually got 200 million in my pocket, I wish I had. I'm not going to stand there and tell everyone I've got 200 million and then offer 20 million for your player because you know I need that player and you also know I've got 200 million in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to be paying 40 million for a player. I'm pretty much, we all know how a business works in that aspect. So that I can all understand. So you turn around and say, we've only got 50 million to spend and more chance you get it for your price. They don't know that you've got 200 million in your back pocket, or they've got a rough idea of it, but there's no solid that you've got that much money. I get how all that works, but why we have to piss ball about so much on signing certain players that we could literally just snap up there and then? It's what we're known for.
Correct.
I mean, Vicario, great deal. I knew about him before he came to the Premiership. And the only reason we got him so quickly is because Inter Milan had basically signed him. That's all they had to do. It was all done and ready to do.
Yeah.
It's just Man U, they had to sign Onana first so that Inter had that money to buy Vicario. Because in Italy, it's a very poor football league at the moment on the money side. Italy is not rich when it comes to the football at the moment.
Yeah.
And we saw that happening. Levy went in there and went, or whoever it was, Paratici, Levy, whatever, went, right, there you go, there's 17 million, job done.
Yep.
Why can't we do that more often?
Mate, I wish we could. I go on about when I first moved to Canada, the very first transfer window we had was the January 2018 window, and it's the window we signed Lucas Moura. And Lucas Moura was in the dressing, or was it in London at Tottenham's training ground the day before the window. On the day of the transfer window, Aubameyang moved from Dortmund to Arsenal. Giroud moved from Chelsea to Arsenal, and Batshuayi moved from Chelsea to Dortmund. All three were signed before Lucas Moura, who was there the day before, was signed. That's how quick deals can get done. Listen, the unfortunate thing is we're known for doing it, aren't we? We're known for doing it. We keep hoping things will change. Who knows? They might this window. They just might. They just might. But I will go off 23 years of history more than 1 year of hope. So again, we'll have to see. We're going to have to see. It needs to be quality, Dan, doesn't it? It needs to be quality.
But he's already basically said we're going to go for quantity, not quality. He basically said it, as far as I'm concerned, on the statement he made. He basically admitted it that Spurs don't go for quality, we go for quantity. He's basically said that we're going to go for quantity.
Well, listen, I'm not saying it will happen, but who knows? We might sign 4 or 5 Mickey van der Vens, and it might be a one. It could be. It. Let's face it. It could be with Paratici. You just don't know. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But again, it's like I said, I didn't know who Mickey van der Ven was. I'm now obsessed with Mickey van der Ven. He's my favourite player by a country mile. There are some gems out there. It's just, can we get lucky or not lucky? Can we get every single one of them to be a diamond rather than a lump of coal, hoping it turns into a diamond?
Yeah, true. Just a point that I want to make here. I'll tell Cockerell, no strikers, Sesko, Tony, Gimenez, Watkins, Openda. Yeah, I'm not saying there's not a striker on the planet, but it's nowhere like it was 10 years ago, where you could literally go everywhere and find a striker, but getting a defender, a bloody good defender at that, was nigh on impossible. Out of those ones you've mentioned, what one of them is actually a quality out-and-out striker? A quality striker.
There's so Ben from We Are Tottenham TV waxes lyrical about Sesko. Absolutely is obsessed with him. I've seen a lot of people talk about Openda.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about him. And I can never say his name right, but I want the guy, the ex-Coventry guy, Grokes, who goes, I really like that dude. But you know what? I was watching, I don't know if people watch the overlap with Gary Neville and Carragher and Keane. And they even said on the last episode, do you know what? This is how hard it is to find a striker. If you look at it, everyone except Manchester City really need, like the top teams, would like a new striker. Arsenal need one. Liverpool, Salah's getting old. There's Chelsea. It just highlights what you said. Getting a striker now is like the prime position that there's not an influx of affordable strikers to go around. That's the real big up. Well, that's the real part of the market this season. I think a lot of this is the other thing we've got to worry about. A lot of teams will be going for strikers, and we know now that the filth, if they need to, they will spend 100 million.
They've proven it.
Exactly. That's the issue.
My whole point of it is basically name me three world-class strikers that we could actually look at, or name me 5 world-class strikers. Full stop. I mean, we've got Kane, you've got Haaland,
Mbappe. He plays wide.
He plays wide. He's not even a striker. He's like a Son, basically, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can play a striker, but he's not an out-and-out striker.
You say Osimhen?
Yeah. Struggling now, isn't it?
He's struggling. I mean, I can't believe Napoli finished it. Listen, I'll tell you one thing as well. You just know Antonio Conte will go into Napoli and get them to win the league next season. Big up, Tony.
But what I'm saying is, that's 3 that you could say are world class, and then you start struggling to name even a quality striker. Now, for me, Ivan Toney is not a quality striker. He's a very good striker. Yeah, I suppose everyone has their standards very different. Yeah, but I have sort of standards of world class, which I think is a phrase just used way too much.
Correct.
Quality, very good, good, average, and then you don't bother with it, basically. And for world class or even quality strikers out there that you even think could possibly handle it in the Premiership, whatever else, they're few and far between. I mean, even go back 15 years ago where you could name about 10, 15 quality and world-class strikers. You had anything from Shevchenko, Crespo, and all that lot out in Italy. You can go back and you had them all over the Premiership. Thierry Henry, Andy Cole was a quality striker.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Robbie Fowler.
Michael Owen.
There was a time when the strikers in the Premiership were shit hot. were
Yeah, and
absolutely like the lethal. It was like, right, every team has got a striker we need to literally put a plan of action in against. But
you
also,
had
what I would say back then is,
Ronaldo, Luis Suarez. The list can go on. This is the point I'm making. There is not that choice of even quality, let alone world-class strikers out there anymore.
you know
And
what I think
with
it is
us,
as well, Dan? Why I think's done that is I want to go back to not I want to as in now, but I'm saying in this conversation, if you go back to the days where we're talking your Owens, your Hasselbanks, they were all 4-4-2. It was a strike partnership, like your Crouch Defoe.
Owen and Hesse,
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Hasselbank and
Vlahovic,
Shearer and
not
Sutton.
Vlahovic, Berbatov, another quality striker, and Robbie Keane.
It was all double acts. There is so much work. The striker's role has been completely revolutionised in the last 5-6 years, or maybe more, where it's just one man up top because of the change. When it was 4-4-2, you got strike partnerships, and some look at Klinsmann and Sheringham.
Yeah.
Back then you had partnerships that everyone would fit, but
You
now
had
it's
your
just
one
like
who could put it in the back of the net.
Yep.
Who was possibly quite a lazy one, but when he got it, it went in the back of the net. And then you had the workaholic next to it, like Berbatov, Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane done all the work. Berbatov just looked like an arrogant, stuck-up.
He was an artist. He was an artist.
But when he got that ball, it went in the back of the net.
Yep.
And the striker is probably the one of two positions, striker and goalkeeper, where you can get away with doing nothing during the whole game. Absolutely nothing. But when it comes to that moment, bang, you got to do it. Whereas the rest of the team have to be seen putting the effort in for the 90 minutes. They are the two positions you can get away with. Basically, you could even sit down and do nothing. But when it comes to you and it's your time, you put it in the back of the net or you make that save.
Correct.
And strikers, few and far between at the moment, and a lot of clubs need them. So this is where we're definitely going to struggle to get a striker. I mean, Ivan Toney, like I've said, 40, 50 million. It's a deal, take it up if that deal is actually there. Arsenal aren't meant to be looking at him because they don't like his attitude from what I've seen. I'm not too keen on his attitude, but what's that saying? Bit rough and ragged around the edges, but we're Tottenham. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, but also, Dan, when it comes to Tony, you look at it and you go back again to the documentary, and Jose Mourinho said that famous quote, "We need to be horrible," and I won't say the next word.
Yeah, he's perfect.
And I think we do need some of those players, and Ivan Toney is one of them. Ivan Toney is one of them. Listen, if he comes, he's a striker.
Richarlison is one of them. Richarlison's like that on the pitch.
He's a striker that scores goals, and if he comes to Tottenham, I think he'll score goals. If he comes, I'm kind of like how I am with Gallagher with him. I really don't want him, but if I see him holding that shirt, the second he holds that shirt, he's a Spurs man, and he'll have my full support. But I just think there's better out there.
I'd like to see us where we can get it, though. I mean, some people saying that we should go for Ollie Watkins. I mean, why is he going to come to Spurs? He's just finished fourth with Aston Villa, and he's in the Champions League and that now. Why would he even contemplate coming to Spurs?
And he's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
So, mate, listen, again, as people will know, we could have had him. We're in negotiations. Someone wouldn't pay the price. He goes on to another club and does well. Big up, Jay's brother. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Then who are we going to go for then?
Mate, listen, it's silly season. Listen, what is it now? The window opens. Where are we? The 27th of May. The window opens on the 14th of June. I know other clubs, and hopefully Tottenham are as well. They're already in negotiations. Whether they declare to say, right, we've signed this one or we're announcing it, I would hope things are going on because everyone's looking for something. And like we've said, and like people in the chat said, everyone's going on about this big window, and it is a huge window, but there's two massive international tournaments going on. Massive. And if you look at it, you'd say Europe and America, South America, are the two biggest pools for talent, wouldn't you? In football, if you're being
when
serious,
it works, when it works.
And if you're looking at players and they go there and have an incredible tournament, their value goes soaring up. If they have a bad tournament, you decide to pull out because they haven't looked as good as you thought, you've wasted time. If they pick up an injury, then again, it's such the one time where we actually all think this is the window, it has to happen. Even people like myself, I never say this. This window is the big one. This one genuinely is, and I hate saying that. But there's two massive tournaments in the middle of it. I would rather. Yeah, I mean, if we sign him, I mean, on his day, I actually think he can be a very good striker.
Yeah,
but that guy is like
isn't good enough.
He's like setting on for injuries.
Yeah.
There was that season, I think he scored 16, 17 goals for Everton. He looked a real handful.
Yeah.
And he can be.
But he's a very inconsistent player as well, isn't
he? Correct.
And with that, I mean, the other one it's saying, and I do think this is pretty much a done deal. I was saying earlier about our midfield. I don't think it's quite as bad as some people make it. We have got some very good players there. And it already proved that it can work. It's just after the 10 games, it fell to shit, basically.
Yeah.
And the one that, by the look of it, that Gallagher deal is going to happen, I would say. And I don't think he's particularly better than anything we've actually got there. I think the only thing you might actually get off him is like a Ben Davies sort of thing, as in you will get 100% every game. But I don't actually think he's better than... I don't think he's better than Basuma. It's just Basuma, for his inconsistency and the way he's played this season, I could quite happily sell him.
Yeah.
Benson Core, ever since his ACL, was never going to be the same player straight away, but I think we played him too early, got himself injured again, and I think he's had a proper shady season because of it. Is he ever going to come back to the standards that he was at? Only time will tell. But there is another player there that is very good. Sarr, I think he's a player who's almost lost himself, and the manager sort of lost in himself on how he actually plays. Is he better as a midfield central? Is he better as a box-to-box? Is he better as a DM? Is he better as an attacking midfielder? I don't actually think he even knows himself yet. But if anything, he was probably our most consistent midfielder. And he had some shit games at the end as well. But Maddison, for me, he's been a flop this season. First 10 games again, quality. But then after that, he's been a flop.
100%.
And I get told I'm negative for saying that. Not that I really give a shit. But how can anyone say that he has not been a flop? To how he started and what we got hyped up about, he has been a flop. So where do we go? Is Gallagher going to improve it? Go on.
You know what? Like I said, Gallagher, we were on a show, I can't remember, it was on Alan's channel, wasn't it, last week with Saba? And when we're talking, he had the one thing I don't want Gallagher, but the one thing I have to concede is that he has all the attributes. It seems that for a minute I thought that was it's Mr. Flower. I think Gallagher has all the attributes to be an Ange Postecoglou. I really do. I don't like him. I don't want him. But I can understand this. I can understand where it comes from. And if Ange has called it out and said this is, then obviously we want it. But I want, if I could choose, and I know they're different positions, I would take Morgan Gibbs-White over him. I would take Eze over him. If we have to spend big on a midfielder / advanced player, those two are. But I do agree with Sava.
Or the other one, Crystal Palace.
Elise. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one I wouldn't say no to, but we wouldn't get him, is the one that
I
you
think
and me
Elise's
both like.
Manchester United. I think Elise's Man U bound.
Who's the one who got sent off with us? The Aston Villa DM.
McGinn.
That's another one I wouldn't say no to, but then I suppose he's a bit of a Gallagher in that aspect because he hasn't got he hasn't got no flair in the aspect of tactical or skill, but he's got flair in his attitude, the way you get stuck in, the way you get 100% off him. I'm not saying Gallagher is a bad idea, not at all. I'm just saying that I don't think he's actually better than what we've got, except the consistency. Anyway, James, morning, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you two?
All good, brother.
Same
Brian's sunbathing by the looks of it.
Say again?
Sunbathing, mate, are we?
I would say if it was yesterday, it would have been. It's very grey and miserable here right now.
I mean, one that Tony mentions here, Locatelli. Keep saying it, mate. I totally agree. Brilliant midfielder. Same as at Roma. I wouldn't mind getting Pellegrini either. But Locatelli, for me, and I didn't know that Locatelli hasn't been picked for the Euros. I'd say he's probably one of the best central mids they've got, apart from the other fella, I'm terrible with names. The midfield one at Inter.
CDM at Inter, yeah.
He's got the same name as the bloody defender. I can't remember his fucking name now. But anyway, I think that's the one. Yeah, proper player. Yeah, but that's another one that won't happen. But Locatelli, that one. It just won't happen either. If he goes for sale, there'd be too many big clubs that snap him straight up. I mean, what do you reckon on this Gallagher thing?
I think I'm going to stick to the same thing I've said all along, and that's I'm backing Ange 100% because I feel like we haven't done that for so long because we're worried. Like we thought Mourinho wasn't going to stay around, Conte wasn't going to stay around, Poch didn't get back. So I'm going to do whatever Ange wants, to be honest, and whatever Ange wants, I'm good with. And if we look at a player perfect for Ange football, you can't look past someone like Conor Gallagher.
I get what you're saying.
And with obviously, you said that you don't think he's any better than anybody like else in our team. I would disagree. And the only thing I would say is I feel like our fans connect to players. Big up, mate. I think our fans connect to players, and they overrate them. So for me, Pape Sarr is a very good player, but he's nothing special. Not yet. He's so young. He needs to grow into that.
I think people have picked him up too much.
Yeah. I think Conor Gallagher is exactly what Pape Sarr is, but he's better on the ball. He's got a better shot, and he's a better passer of the ball. So I think that, and I'm not saying that Pape Sarr won't be better than Gallagher, because I think he could be better than Gallagher. But as of right now, I think Conor Gallagher is better than Pape Sarr by some distance.
I can go with that. No, I said, listen, like I said, I like James has called for Gallagher all the time. I do think right now he's at a better level than our midfielders. I just think we can get a better level than his level.
I agree with that.
I also think some of the youth players coming through are going to be better than him in a couple of years. I truthfully believe it. And let's just say, last time James wanted someone and I didn't, it kind of worked out for James. So forget what the football knowledge is. If James is calling it and I haven't, I'm going with James.
The keeper, Vicario.
Yeah, I don't need another season of James tormenting me.
I had two people back me up on that Vicario, with everyone else going crazy, and one of them was Steve from America. He was the other one, and I can't remember who the other one was, but he was one of the only ones that actually backed me up on Vicario, saying, "Don't worry about Raya, we got a better keeper there." Yeah. Now, people saying Raya is better, more clean sheets, whatever else, yes, but a keeper is only as good as his defence, and our defence is shambolic. But on paper,
and I'd say our defence is only as good as our midfield, and our midfield's even worse.
And you see, that one I can disagree on. I get it that the midfield it's poor, but a defence can control what comes through midfield. And when you're getting caught with the same goals every game and everything else and that, on paper, our defence should be very good. But I think we conceded 3 less goals than last season with Ben Davies, Sanchez, Eric Dyer, Longley. That's nothing to be proud of, and you cannot pick this defence up with that.
No, but I think also if you get one solid midfielder in there, i.e. Paulinho, somebody like that, I think you see half the goals go in. And then that, because it's the start. Like, this is where I'm torn, and I have a lot of disagreements with Spurs fans and debates, and I'm well happy to, because I love listening to everyone's opinion. But for me, even when people are saying Ange needs to change or Ange needs to do this, Ange needs to get his philosophy in first. But then when everyone knows his philosophy, he will then adapt, in my opinion, or he should then adapt. Because people talk about Arteta. Arteta finished eighth and fifth, and they got pumped every week. And now he's got his starting 11 and his bench are players that he's signed. He can now adapt. He can say, right, you know what, I've got Declan Rice there. All right, he's going to push further forward. We'll bring Partey in, or we'll bring Zinchenko. So for me, I'm looking at Tottenham as a completely new. This is the first year where I've said, you know what, whatever happens, I'm going to start fresh, and everything is changed for me. So we have to learn the first philosophy before we then start changing, because I don't believe the players will buy into his philosophy if we change it every other week. Or
okay, I'm going to counter what you said completely. I can see where you're coming from, but I can't agree with it. Why?
Yeah, that's fine.
Why did he adapt on probably one of our most important games of the season, which was actually Sheffield United, because we needed that draw or win to get 5th place?
He actually adapted the game before that. He adapted the game before that, and that was because of it. Sorry.
Yeah. He adapted against who was it, and made us do man marking instead of before then he actually started
that was
changes.
He done that. He actually. Sorry. I'm talking over you. Sorry.
It's all right. Why didn't he adapt then in the really important games? Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. But then he all of a sudden realises, like, yeah, shit, this zonal marking ain't working, and changes it against, it wasn't Bournemouth, who was it? Where he changed it halfway and started the game before Man City and started actually making us do man marking on corners instead of zonal marking, which has just been a total screw up all season. So if he's hammering it into the club that hard, why does he adapt with 2 games left? Why doesn't he adapt? Are you telling me he only just saw that then and didn't saw it 5 games before when we had to play Arsenal?
No.
And when he knew we had Saka coming down and playing Davis against him and everything else? Why didn't he adapt then?
No, yeah, I think they're all fair comments, and only comments that probably he can answer. But what I would say again is in trying to stick up for him as best as I can, because I do agree with some of the stuff you're saying, mate. It's not like even though I'm trusting him or trying to trust him, I'm still having the same concerns as everybody else, and I still call it out how everybody else is. But for me, even things like the set piece coaches, he probably went in there and said, like, what's that? Like, there's no way he conceded 10 goals and then come into that press conference and went, no, I don't notice anything. But as a manager, you'd notice that somebody's doing something wrong, and you'd say, like, what's going on here? This is the 4th or 5th one in a row. And then he's got people like the coaching staff saying, yeah, we're working on that. And then he probably lost his shit in that thing and said, you know what? Enough's enough. We change now. Your philosophy ain't working. Let's start changing. So that's where I think there's so much going on, so little time. He had no pre-season. And I understand what you're saying is we had a couple of those big games and he didn't change nothing. But at the beginning of the season, we beat those big teams and got points off those big teams. So it worked. It's just only...
Then it was obvious. Go on, Brian.
What I'm going to add as well, what you've got to look at, where I'm with James on this one, is if we go back to Pochettino, Pochettino had the flip of what Ange did in his first season. We started off so ropey. We ended off a lot better. He brought through Bentaleb and Mason to rip out some of the deadwood and bad players. And then he started getting his players in. And the second and third season was, let's face it, as Spurs fans, 2 magnificent seasons. Yes, we came short of silverware, as we all know, but we came 3rd and 2nd. And I would probably say, apart from the Paul Gascoigne days, they were my favourite 2 seasons ever as a Spurs fan. But that all happened because you got to remember, if it weren't for that Harry Kane free kick that deflected against Villa, there was big talk he was out the door. Then things were going wrong, and he said, right, you know what? I ain't doing this. In came Bentaleb, in came Mason, who obviously didn't finish their careers gloriously, and Mason went off. Apparently Bentaleb had attitude issues, but in his first season to say, right, I'm putting 2 youth prospects in the centre of the midfield to play my football, that was a bold move. And then he got there, and then came in the next season. He came in with Toby Alderweireld. He came in with the others that added, and then we had that push. And then the next season, obviously, Wanyama, and things happen. I think all of this right now is because Ange's season was the reverse of what Poch had, and now there's all this doubt. And obviously, the ownership don't help, whatever. But this is why this window, again, we're going on about, it's massive.
Well,
massive.
I think Tony makes a good point here, yeah? Ange adapted to when we played City, a game that you can adapt as much as you want, and you could say there's a very high chance you're going to lose it anyway, yeah? And did what the fans have been screaming about since Udogie was injured, if not longer than that. He had adapted and tweaked immediately, where we would have finished top 4 for sure. Now, out of all those games we lost, I'd say about half of them, I blame him on Ange, because he didn't adapt to certain points of games, which he should have. And as all we would have actually needed was another 6 points out of the 30 odd we could have got, and we would have been in that Champions League.
Yeah, but isn't it very easy to say in hindsight we could have done this, or in hindsight we would have done that? Because even like we changed against City and lost, and people
Not that
go,
I wanted Champions League.
No, neither did I. I've said that the whole way through. I actually want to win a trophy, and I think that we can actually win Europa. And now Champions League teams don't drop down into it. But for me, it's very easy to say that. But I've said it a few times. I said it on Stell's channel as well. For me, I believe that Ange is in the biggest hiding for nothing, because I think he's trying to change everything in the club, and he's standing there trying to do it on his own. And by that, I mean, like when we're all Spurs fans, I was like, oh, we should lose to City. We can't have Arsenal winning the league. But you cannot have your manager that's trying to change the philosophy inside the club, where they need to win every game, to say, you know what, yeah, this week we're going to have a week off. Like it's just doesn't. You'd never hear Pep say that. You'd never say Ancelotti say that. You'd never hear people like that saying that. So it's hard for him to sort of in that circumstances. But even when he did change, people still moaned. They still said, oh, well, why now? So you've asked him to change. He changed. Well, why now? All right. Well,
right, yeah.
So he should.
I'm one of those ones. No, I'm one of those ones. Why change? Why now? And why am I still complaining? Well, too little, too late, mate. As a manager, you should have fucking seen this 12 games ago. And he didn't. Me, I am not a manager or a coach, whatever. But same as you, same as Brian, we're all allowed our opinion. But one fact I can give you is that we were the joint third worst team at conceding from set pieces. I could have told you, and everyone else told you, I mean, when I mean you, I mean everybody as such, that this zonal marking shit is not working, and then he doesn't change it until the second last game of the season, where, to an extent, it's irrelevant. Yeah? That is where I will complain that, well, why have you left it that long to change? So, yeah, I will complain, even though he's gone and done what I wanted him to do. It's something that I've seen and something that a majority of people have seen, but it's something that looks like our manager didn't notice until the second to last game of the season, when we were joint third worst at conceding set pieces. And it was blatantly down to the zonal marking, where we would all mark our zones in the middle. It even got to the stage where the team sussed it out that much that they'd just stand outside the box or to the back of the posts and whatever. And then run where it's taken. So, of course, I'm going to complain about it when it's in its own way. It's all good changing. It's all good doing this and that. But there is too little, too late as well. So I can see where you're coming from. But
I do agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, me personally, I just don't understand. It just doesn't sit right in my brain how anything could be too little, too late when it's his first season and he's had no pre-season. That's the only thing I'll say, because I'm not disagreeing with you with the faults. I agree with all of them. But it's the guy's first season, and if everybody had hang-ups like that, I just think no one would ever move forward. You know, we've all been asking for something. He's done it, and we're still moaning. What's the scenario? We did it with Mourinho, we did it with Poch, we did it with Conte. We've got to be fair and give a guy a fair crack. That's what I'm saying. I actually gave Levy credit. Sorry, Brian. I actually gave Levy credit the other day, because all I've been asking is for 3 good players every window. That's all I've been asking, so we can build a squad. And this summer, he gave me 3 good players. He gave me the keeper. He gave me Van der Ven. Sorry, I wish Van der Ven, and he gave me James Maddison. So he gave me 3. So he started in the way. Don't get me wrong. Went straight back to it in January, and he fucked up again. He gave me Timo Werner, which everybody told me was a good deal, Brian, and he's absolutely trash. But we'll leave that one there. But like, I'm trying to be as open as honest to change and everything new as possible. And I just think if Ange has changed, or he's trying to change, we need to give him time. I can't wait to be Ange out, and I'll tell you when I'll be Ange out. If, for example, Levy gives him 3 more players this summer, so he gives him a number 6, a right winger, and a striker, I will then say, hold on, you've got Son plus 2 good strikers, you've got a midfielder, you've got Bentancur, you've got Maddison, you've got a back 4. Then I will turn on Ange and say, sorry, mate, you've been given the tools and you still can't do it. So,
I totally agree. But another point I'll make for you there is me actually not being happy with that he's taken to the second to last game, third to last game to actually see this. I'm actually giving him a compliment. Now you're going to say why? Because I'm giving him a compliment as a manager that I expect my manager to have that mental capability that he could already see that. Now, if I sat there and I said, do you know what? It's only Ange. He's thick as shit anyway. It don't matter. He's only just really, it took him like 30, 35, 36 games to see it because, you know, the fella's a bit slow sort of thing, yeah? No. Me actually turning around and saying he should have seen that is actually a compliment in its own way, how I see that one. Because you're expecting your manager to be intellectual enough to realise those things. Or would it just be better if I said, oh, it's only Ange, he ain't going to see that crap, you know?
No, but I'm just saying, and I'm not saying you either, mate, I'm just saying generally as the fan base are, I'm saying things like people are slating him already for things, but it's not, if he's just brought in, even all like the new staff, he's brought in new backroom stuff, if he's saying this ain't working, change it, and they're like, look, give us a few more games, we're doing this, we're doing that, let us get our philosophy in, and they don't, then he sticks in and says, look, this is not working. He's coming to a fresh club, loads of new things. I just think give him time. The one thing Spurs do not do with anybody is give them time, whether it's a manager, a player, or anything. Let's see what happens. And if we fail, fantastic. I can't wait to be Ange out. And actually, because that means that, like I said, Levy's done his job and backed the manager for once. But I can't see that happening either.
Well, do you know what? The other way I want to quickly look at this. One thing listen, we all know we wanted him to change his tactics, but he wasn't. He was, I don't know if you want to say stubborn, arrogant, well, whatever. I'm used to the word stubborn. If that's how he is with his tactics and sticking to his principles, I'm hoping going into a transfer window, he's that stubborn with this is the player I want. This is the player you bring in, or else I will kick off about it. Because what we need is a manager to, like James said, have his players. And I'm hoping we're all hearing that this window, it's going to be the players Ange wants. They've got their, well, let's see. And if Ange is, and you can say stubborn. Do you know what? For yes, we needed to change, but I'm actually, in a way, I was like, do you know what? You've actually stuck to your guns and stuck to your laurels. Whether that's, listen, we didn't have the big enough strength in depth to cover what he was doing. It was the same with the last season of Conte. We kept playing 3-4-3, didn't have the players to play it. But it was like, no, we're doing it my way, we're doing it my way. Obviously, that worked out badly. But like James said, if players come in well and can play his system, and they're actually players that he wants, that he knows, then it could be a completely different story next season. And if he is stubborn with this, I hope he's this stubborn with the players he wants and demands. So,
and I think that's the problem, Brian, is it can be the difference next season. So that what that means is people have to be, or they take it, have to be Ange in or Ange out, because it could be good or it could be bad. No, you don't. Exactly.
In or out.
No, but I think that's where fans.
At the moment.
Yeah.
The other point I'll give you is that, yeah, maybe at Spurs we want it yesterday, yeah? But there's a reason to it. It's because we've been held back and drained from it for so long. We're desperate for it. It's like when you've got that mate that you go out with every weekend that for some reason just can't pull come love nor money, and he's had to go 6 months to a year without anything. When it comes to the end, when it comes to that time where he gets a chance, he takes home anything.
Yeah, but again, that's where I think me and Brian are on the same page, and none of that gets aimed towards Ange for me. I don't think Ange is stubborn. Not yet. I don't think Ange is this or that. I think that's Levy's fault. So everybody should be aiming that hate towards Levy. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Ange would have spoke to Levy and said, "This is my style of football. You've seen how I play. I have Matt O'Reilly in midfield at Celtic," and Levy's gone, "Yeah. Well, right now you've got Højbjerg, who worked hard but cannot control a ball, cannot make a 3-yard pass." And Ange has gone, "Well, we might need to change that." And he's gone, "Yeah. Well, we'll see." Do you know what I mean? And that is for me where I think you can only, like I said, I will judge Ange after next season. If we get past Christmas and we're still doing the same things, conceding the same goals, because again, there's a lot of things that I'd like to add. Udogie, a lot of Spurs fans are head over heels for Udogie, but he probably cost us 5 or 6 goals last season by just passing a 3-yard pass to their striker or not realising the keeper was coming out.
Strong point.
No, but it's time also. You've got to realise he's come from Italy to the Prem. That's massive. That is so massive. Same with the striker. When we get a striker,
Italy defence is the main part of the bloody game.
Yeah, but it's the speed of defence to attack, in my opinion, in the Premier League is levels above Italy. It's the build-up play is so quick.
Yes,
and that's where I think
Italy,
Udogie,
the defence side, the technical side in Italy is miles above. But they're
more like a flat back four, aren't they? I'm more talking about the speed that we turn from defence to attack. So when he pushes forward, it's like you're under pressure, even though you're going forward, kind of thing.
The majority of Italy play with a 3 at the back, play with 5 at the back to go into 5 in midfield, sort of thing. Anyway,
100%.
Right. Eugene, how you doing, mate?
Hi guys. Good morning to Brian, my brother in Canada, and of course, good afternoon. You guys just reached noon time, right? All you guys in UK. Guys, we are just having PTSD again, right? So we've come to this position. It's the end of this season. We're coming to the next summer. Brian will know that. I know that, right? James, we all know that. We're just going through all these same feelings again of, when the betrayal is going to come from our owner. When will the manager, like now we said, Ange is stubborn. So will Ange be stubborn towards Levy, right? What James says is very true. And Brian, we are hoping that, Ange will step up to Levy and tell him, you don't meddle in the footballing side of things. Get me what I want. You give me the budget, right? But don't give me a £5 budget to go and buy players. You can understand? Give me a decent budget, right? Tell me what players I will sell and what money I have. In there, this is my amount of money, X, and I go and do the business. I will handle it with Lang, Paratici, Scott Munn, whoever there is that, we will go and do the business. But one thing puzzles me at the moment, maybe Ange will be multitasking, right? Because now he's a pundit for Sky or ITV or something.
ITV, isn't it? I was quite shocked when I saw that. And he's meant to be quite down to earth sort of.
Is he focusing on Spurs, or is he going to be focusing on the players, or are you going to be focusing on the transfer windows? Or what is he thinking about?
Well, I have to say, Eugene,
I think that's so harsh. That is so harsh, man. No one said this about Conte and Mourinho.
Hang on. Let Eugene finish.
But I understand, because Ange has reached a certain stature where he has to cash in on his brand, right? This is the modern world.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, Eugene, if he's out there, and I think he's actually going to be out there in what, I can't remember what country it's like, in Germany. He's going to be he'll be close to the players. If there's any deals going on, he's in the country. He's like bang off right,
and he can be there to spot.
Exactly,
he's there to spot. Yes, while he's doing all this punditry, he's also doing player analysis. You can say so that could be the plus part, because he might find a player, from one of the smaller countries, right, that has the style of play that he needs, the speed, and maybe the qualities that he wants for the squad. Because don't forget, I'm saying the budget given to him. He's not going to be given a £500 million budget. Most probably he'll be given 100 to 150, right? Plus, maybe if you sell enough players, he gets up to maybe 200, 225. to buy what he needs to buy. But we all know
Eugene, I don't think we get that with the crap we've got, mate. I think we'd be very some of them players.
I mean, if we sell 10 of them, average about 5 to 10 million pounds each, we might reach that. But if you get a good price for Richarlison and maybe who else is going? Richarlison is wanted.
The Celso were meant to have an offer for him with what's it? Real Betis are meant to be putting in a bid for Lo Celso, but they've only got about 10 million to spend.
Yeah, but I think as long as we're prepared to sort of be cutthroat, and I think that is what comes out. We've got to be cutthroat. I think there's 16 players that could be sold. Yeah. So even if they all go for 10 million, just say, and don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of them worth more than 10. I think you'll get more for 10 for Roden, more than 10 for Gio. I think you'll get more than 10 for Royale. Like, it's just so on and so on. So there's 16 players that could be sold. But say we get 10 million on average for every single one of them. That's 160 million that you've got coming in to spend, should be. And say they give us 150 million. That's 310 million that we should be able to spend.
James, we go back to the start of what me and Brian were talking about. When a team knows you're desperate for a striker, the money
but it's tough. It's tough.
When a team knows you've got money, the price goes up. When a team knows that you're desperate to get rid of a player, the price goes down. Everyone knows we are desperate to get rid of Ndombele. If anything, we're going to have to give him away and still pay half his bloody wages. Lo Celso, everybody knows we want him out, basically. We're going to be lucky if we see 10 mil from him. Chicken Royale. Everybody knows that we don't want him at Spurs. So if he's worth, let's say, 15, 20 mil, any club with any sort of business side of them is going to say, well, he's worth 15 mil. They desperately want him out. There's 5 mil, mate. Take it or leave it. Because they know we got to get rid of this crap before we can rebuild a team properly.
That is what it is.
That's seeing full prices for them.
But that is what it is. But that's why I said say 10 million on average, because I believe there's players in there that are worth 10 million or are worth more. So say if we got 10 million on average, that's 160. Plus if he gives us 150, there's nearly 300 million. You know, No, I know, and I agree with everyone saying it's never going to happen. No, I know, but that's not fair for us. This is what I'm saying.
Eugene, let him finish.
This is where I'm saying is I agree with what everyone's saying. Like, I'm not here going, I know Levy's going to give him that money. I'm not stupid. But if that money is available, we get 100 million available plus 150, obviously, you know, we should be then looking at, say, 200 to 250 million spent. And if we can't get 2 strikers or a right-wing striker and a 6 and Conor Gallagher, if we wanted, for within that million, that's 450 million pound players. Then Levy out should be trending and fairly big, to be honest.
Levy out is always trending with us anyway. So no, what I'm saying, guys.
Very quickly, very, very happy birthday to the one and only, the Tottenham hero, my legends, my Paul Gascoigne. Happy birthday, my man, the hero, the legend.
Is he now?
Mate, I've just seen it on Spurs. I was just on Spurs Twitter because they broke something. They just announced we're playing a pre-season friendly away at Queen's Park Rangers, which I'm quite happy about, actually, because we don't play pre. I was mentioning it the other day. We don't actually play. I used to remember the pre-season friendly game the week before the season started at home, where we used to parade all right, it's away at Queen's Park Rangers, but it's I can't remember the last time we played a pre-season friendly at home or in England. But yeah, Gaza, happy birthday, my man, the god, the footballing god. Till the day I die, the greatest player to wear the Spurs shirt, and no one will ever take his place.
All right, then. What I'm going to do then is go to a different point here of what I was going to do, yeah? I've just had to go back on the list that I've done previously, but I haven't actually asked this, yeah? Now, we've got, from what I've got written here, and there's probably more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players at least that we need to get out of this club, yeah? Now, the way I see it is, the way I put it is in, how should I put it, in blocks, whatever. There's ones that are priority to get rid of, There's ones that need to go, and then there's the ones that, do you know what, if we hang on to until January sort of thing, or next season, we can do it sort of thing, yeah? Because I just don't see us managing to get rid of all 11. But with the money you've stated, we could bring in for that. First one I'll ask then. And Ndombele. How much are we going to get for that man, realistically?
7 million, maybe, yeah, at best, yeah.
I think you
At
go
best.
for £5 million, right? Because this is the last season. This is you get £5 million, we'll be happy. But problem with Ndombele is, right, who's going to pay him 200k a week? That's the problem, right? And most probably, if he doesn't want to go on loan again, or whatever, and Ndombele will be, I don't know, maybe sidelines and put into the under 23 while we just pay off his salary, right? Yeah, if we can get
Eugene, you can't just pay off his salary. You'd have to get him out on loan. By paying off your salary, you're going to be paying him. No, you can't, because that would do is. Let me explain first. Let me explain first before you. Let me explain first,
Eugene,
because he's on over 200k a week. Yeah, so say, just to round things up, say that's £1 million a month. To release him, you're going to be paying a minimum of £12 million up front, plus any additional clauses he has in his contract. So just say there's another 2 or 3 million in those. Just say, so you're going to be paying 15 million out up front just to release him, and all of that gets written off onto FFP. So that comes down as expenses that you are unwilling expenses. So that means before you start. One second. So that puts us 15 million behind FFP before we start, and the only way we can wipe that off is by selling homegrown players. So we would need to sell minimum of 15 million of English talent before we become level, and then get back into the positive with FFP for this calendar year. From what they stated, that has changed.
Okay, James. Okay, listen to this, right? Ndombele has been loaned out, right, for the past 3 seasons, correct?
Yeah.
And they ain't been paying his wages.
Yeah, they're paying 60%.
How many times have we been? No, we have not been
Yes,
paying
they are.
60%.
Yes, they are paying 60%.
No, they are. They're paying 60%. So that means rather than us lose 12 million a year, we're only losing, say, 5 million a year. So what is more financial benefit, losing 5 or 12?
James, I've heard, right?
Let him give his
I've heard we are paying 80% of his wages while he goes overseas to play. And you say 60% is paid by the other club? I don't think so. Check it out.
So, yeah.
I ain't got that. So it could be anything and everything. But
it's just over 100,000 that they're paying. I read it's just over 100,000 that they're paying.
On what you said, we can't. Hang on, Eugene. Hang on. We can't just pay off a player's contract and get rid of him. I thought we could. The player has also got to agree with it as well, because it's his contract, yeah. But the way I see this one, no one is going to pay 5 mil or 10 mil for Ndombele and also pay his wages. The way it is probably going to have to get done with him is we say, we give you 75% upfront here and now, or over a couple of years. Fuck off. Yeah.
That'll never work.
What did Arsenal? Why not?
It'll never work because it didn't even work with Eric Dyer. Why do you think Eric Dyer went out on loan for the season? So we don't have to pay his wages and we don't have to pay to get rid of him. Him going on loan. Him going on loan is his contract being ripped up, because they take all covers of costs. There's no final end up product. You haven't got to pay no compensation. That's the word I'm looking for. You haven't got to pay no compensation. You say off loan, you deal with it. We're done.
We've got this
James, I think what's happening here.
Money.
Good.
Go on, Brian.
I was about to say, I think when it comes to a Ndombele, we're talking an extreme case. I mean, I would, if I was as Postecoglou, I wouldn't even let me in the training ground. I'd be like, listen, do what you want. But where I think we are with Tanguy, and I agree about the financial blah blah blah. But I think we're in a case with Serge Aurier here. With Serge Aurier, we're like, right, it's the final year of your contract. We're going to have to.
Aurier agreed to it, though. That's the thing. He agreed.
That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. You can't just get rid of him. It doesn't work like that. It would cost the club too much money in FAP.
Right. With the money we have got, we can afford to do that. Yeah. We're not that close like Chelsea that we have to get rid of players to level our FFP. Technically,
No, it's changed this season, mate. I don't know if you know. Well, from what I read, it's changed.
it changes
Guys,
at the start of the season. The FFP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I think it's June it changes. That's why Chelsea have apparently. I think it's June because I think that's why Chelsea sacked Poch, because Poch wanted Gallagher to stay when they've got to off-road their English talent.
What we want to do. Arsenal did it with Ozil. They knew that he was just taking too much money out of it. He was too negative at the club. Everything else, they just said, you know what?
And
We got
Aubameyang
losses here. Yeah, and Aubameyang. We got too much. He's just giving us too much shit here. We got to get rid of him. Yeah. No one I can personally see is going to pay a single penny for Ndombele because
I agree.
of mentality more than anything. And we're just literally either going to have to keep him at the club, and he will just be nothing but negative, or just say, do you know what, mate? There's 7 mil, fuck off. And there's a good chance he'll probably take it. Or he'll turn around and do what Ozil did and say, no, you pay me my full amount and I will disappear. Whether we like it or not. So if we pay it up front now and get rid of him, or if we hang on to him for a year and get rid of him, we're still losing the same money. So we might as well just get rid of him early if he accepts 75%.
Yeah, see, this is where if you look at him from his point of view, there's no way that he's going to say to him, like, it's like me saying to you, look, if you come work for me over the year, you're going to get £15 million, but I'll pay you £5 million to leave now. You'll go, hold on a minute, no thanks. So that's why I think.
Accept it. Majority of players.
But let's be honest with Ndombele. That guy is the most lazy. He doesn't want to play football anymore. That's why, for me, I would loan him back to a French club. Just get in the lower league of the French tier, so it'll look like he's all right. Something along those lines. Just get rid.
Right.
Yeah, Jake,
another question with
whenever we loan Ndombele,
that's the problem.
No, whenever we loan Ndombele out, right, we have this thing that we think that we are getting. The other team is covering a lot of money for us, but to tell the truth, it isn't because to tell the truth, Ndombele was loaned to Galatasaray, right? This season, the season passed. Okay, what I heard, right, we paid 80% of his wages because Galatasaray can't afford 50% of his wages to play in Galatasaray.
Either way, Eugene,
the only time we really came to
we still paid half his wages. Yeah, whatever percentage.
Yeah, we paid more than half his wages.
Who cares? Either way, what I'm saying is we still have to pay his wages. So, and Ndombele, I don't see us getting no money.
I understand what James is saying because James is saying, right, if we get rid of him before June, right, it will go into our last year's FFP-PSR accounts. You get it? But when we get rid of him after June, right, in July, then it will go into the next season's FFP accounts and all that. So it depends on what Levy's going to do, right, bro? To tell you the truth, right, we come to understand, right, we would have given Ndombele away for free.
Exactly, and we're still going to have to. And we're still going to have to pay some of his wages, half of it, if not more.
We have to.
What club is going to have a clue, like really want to take on a waste of space like Ndombele on loan,
but then
and still pay even half his wages?
Hold on, Dan. When Ndombele went to Napoli, right? He won the Serie A. When Ndombele went to Galatasaray, right? I think Galatasaray has won their league too, so that would be a good omen for them.
How many games did he get?
One trophy.
Oh yeah, even Davidson Sanchez got a trophy.
So when it comes,
I don't.
If anything, James, if anything, and Ndombele is just going to be a loss of money that we're just going to have to get rid of. Money. You are not going to make a single penny off.
No, I'm not saying about making money. I'm just saying about losing as least as possible. And there are teams that he will go to, and by that you could go to MLS, you could go to Saudi, There's loads of players that would take him.
I don't think that. Dan, I actually don't.
They're not going to take him for money.
I actually don't think there is. I actually don't think. If you look at it, on his talent and on his day, he could have been. We all know what he could have been. We saw glimpses of it in the Spurs shirt. But when you've had so many loan spells and so many, I literally think you look at players and say, is he worth a punt? Is he worth taking that shot in the dark? And hope you look at his attitudes. You look at his. And the way I look at it as well with him is you pay. I wouldn't want him anywhere near these. If you know, like how they made Danny Rose or other players like Aubameyang and Eujin go train with the under-23s. I wouldn't want him anywhere near this copy.
Agree.
Sometimes I just think with him, I don't think a club will touch him with a 10-foot barge pole. I literally, I can't see
with a clue.
Not even Saudi. So if you look at it,
Not a club
Saudi
that can, not even a club that'll pay 100 grand wages. So Brian, straight answer.
Yeah.
We get rid of Ndombele. How much money do you think we can make on him?
Mate, I don't think we can make. Listen, I don't think we get any money for him. I cannot see.
Right.
If someone actually, put it this way, if someone actually says we want him, whether it be loan or a signing, to me that'll be one of the most bizarre transfers of the entire window. Like
that'd be worse than us getting Werner. That'd be worse than us getting Werner.
I don't know about that.
Oh no, it was. It was.
I don't know about that.
It was. It's just,
right.
Mate, he's gone to France. He's gone to Italy. He's gone to Turkey. And each time, all right, he played okay, I'd say, with Napoli. He made a lot more substitute appearances than he did first team. He went to France, didn't he? And he didn't come back well there. And then obviously we saw that training, that pre-match training. For me, Timo Werner is Ballon d'Or worthy compared to Tanguy Ndombele. In all honesty, that's how I'm. If I was Tanguy Ndombele now, when I look back on my career, I would sit back with nothing but shame. I'd be ashamed of myself.
See, look,
absolutely ashamed.
Just the harmless potato says it here. He's obviously just checked this up. And Ndombele started 11% of the matches, played 14% of available minutes, 0 goals, 1 assist. He only played in 2 games for the full 90 minutes. Right. So, Brian, you're saying we're just going to have to say goodbye and cut our losses. 0.
Yeah.
James, what do you think we can make on Ndombele?
Nothing.
I
think he'll be loaned back out.
Yeah, but even if we loan him back out, it's just
nothing. Yeah, there's no value. Yeah,
we're not going to make money off of him.
No.
Eugene?
0. At least it's not negative, right? It could be negative for all we know in the end of the day, but I will go with 0 first.
Yeah, and with me, if anything, it's minus 7 million what we do with him, but 0. So right, he's going to be a minus. Whatever we do, we're going to lose money on the man, no matter what.
Yeah.
So then the next one on the list, Tanganga. Eugene.
Oh, Tanganga is wanted by Millwall, right? I think we can squeeze maybe.
Right.
I think has he already gone? I think he's already gone.
No, he hasn't already gone. He's on loan.
He's on loan, but I think they haven't sealed the deal.
No, I think they've already done it. Yeah, I think they've actually already signed him. I'm pretty sure.
3 million, right?
It broke that Millwall are very, very far in advanced talks and want to make that deal. They want to take it permanent, but no fee has come up yet. Well, no, that deal I would say is like 75-80% of the way there. Millwall want him. He wants to go to Millwall. It's now obviously negotiating the fee.
Yeah. Okay, so I think you 3 million.
How much
3 million is there? I mean, can Millwall afford £3 million for Tanguy? That's like
3 million.
Yeah.
You're talking about a championship team here that hasn't got a pot to piss in, that'll probably have to pay it off over 5 years anyway. So, Eugene, you're saying about 3 million. James?
Yeah.
I think there's about £10 million in there. Well, like you said, with a long time paying off. Championship teams they've got more than 3 million. We look at Rodon for 20 million. He's young, he's English.
That's talking about Millwall.
Yeah, I would say between 7 and 10 million.
Okay, fair enough. That's your opinion. Brian?
Just to let Ryan Isaacs know, my little brother, a fee hasn't been agreed yet. I can confirm that. But I'm going actually in the middle. I would accept 5 to like 7.5 for him. Listen, the main thing is, again, what we need to talk about is we've said that we need to get a lot of players off the books. And if we're going to do this, do it properly, at some point, we've got to turn around as a club and say, right, we're going to need to take a hit on some of these players to get them out, to create the space, to bring in the money. I sound like the guy, there was an old lady who swallowed a fly to catch a spider, blah, blah. That's basically what we need to do right now. And Tanganga's going to be one of them. Listen, he's homegrown. It's pure profit.
We're going to lose money on practically all of them. So how much do you think?
With Tanga, I reckon it will go between 5 to 7.5. And 7.5 for Millwall. That'd be, if we can structure it was that high, that'd be an incredible deal for him. Incredible for us. But I think it'll be nearer the 5.
Okay. I'm going to go with Eugene on this one and look at a 3 million. So we've got 2 3 millions, a 5 million, and because Millwall have not got that sort of money, to spare, they really
That's
haven't.
madness. I think that's cutting your nose and spite your face. 3 million. He's only 24. He's English, and I think people are judging him on his injuries rather than how good he was. He was actually pretty good for us when he played.
Okay, no, James, no, mate, no, sorry, I ain't having that one. Yeah, Sessegnon was good, and look at his injuries.
Yeah, no, I know.
When a player is that injury prone, people don't. Another one that was a quality player in Italy, Spenzilla. Whatever, I can't pronounce his bloody name. He's at Roma now. Was it Juventus? Quality left winger, quality left wing back. But he ain't worth a tuppence because he's injured every 5 minutes. Players like that, because they're injured every 5 minutes, people don't touch them with a barge pole. So
Just to add to that,
agree on 5 million.
Just to add to that, Dan, what I will say as well with James, I actually liked Tanganga. I actually really think I was hoping and praying that he'd break through, and obviously we saw what he did under Mourinho. Then that one game against Manchester City where he was incredible. But where Dan was saying, cut your nose to spite your face. If you look at it, Dan, he's not getting ahead of Romero and Van der Ven. He's not getting ahead of Dragutin. We're probably we're hoping to bring in another left back or left centre back. Sorry,
he's probably not even getting over that.
I cannot see him getting through. Then you got Dorrington, Phillips. I think that's the way that it's gone, and whether it is, I just can't see. And then you got Vuskovic coming in a couple or next season.
Yeah,
I just can't see a way he gets
a perfect point here. A perfect
point.
Reece James, great player, always injured. If Reece James wasn't injured, you'd say he's a 60 million player all day long. I personally think he's the best right back in the Premiership overall for what you want a right back. He might not be the best at going forward, but I think he's definitely the most defensive. I think he's the most complete what you need as a right back, not a right wing back, as a right back. Stay back on the back floor. But
so
because of his injuries, they wouldn't even get 30 million for him, I don't think.
I'm on Transfer Market now, and he's joined them January. He played 19 games, averages of 92 minutes, 1 red card, 3 yellow cards, 2 goals, and he's been valued and marketed at 15 million euros for them.
Who's that?
Yeah, not a chance.
Tanganga, 15 million euros. That's about 12 million pounds. So that will probably get knocked down a couple of million. So I think for someone that's played every minute of every game since January, that's not as bad as we're making out. I think because we have emotional attachment to him.
You're missing it. Millwall haven't got that money.
Yeah, but then he'll go elsewhere. That we're not going to. If he's valued at 10 million, we're not going to go right.
How do you know that?
Sorry. I'm just going by what the stats of what they're saying. That's what I'm saying. I've got it up on the internet now.
Most of the time, anyway. I mean,
I know.
Football Manager, mate. You might as well go on Football Manager now.
I don't know Football Manager.
Because there's plenty of players that I've bought on Football Manager that are 20 mil, and I've got.
I know. But what I'm saying is, if he's valued, say, for example, at 15 million, we don't go, well, Millwall have only got 3 million, because that's not my problem. Our problem is to find as much money as we can get.
Yeah, but if no one else goes for him, and we got to get rid of him, otherwise he's just another player.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, no, that's a different conversation to his value, though. I think get rid of him. If we only get 500 quid for him, he's got to go. But what I'm saying is, you need to make the most of what you can for the players. And I think us as Spurs fans go, he's crap. He's only worth 3 million. Right. But
then we go back to what we were saying, James. We go back to what we were saying of when a club knows you're that desperate to get rid of someone, their price goes down. And I don't exactly see many other clubs steaming in, doing an eBay last minute on him to try and buy him because they're that desperate for him. And Millwall are the ones who want him. They're going to put a solid offer by the sound of it, but it's not going to be much because they ain't got that money. And they also know that we desperately want rid of them. This is the point I'm making. Like, when they know you desperately need a striker, the price goes up because they know you're desperate. They know all these players that I'm going to name, we are desperate to get rid of.
Well, so even like you're saying, though,
they're gonna offer money for him.
You're saying he's worth 3 million. They paid a 1.8 million value in the loan fee.
That might have even been towards the transfer fee. We don't know what's gone on there.
So but that's what I'm saying. Even though we do want to get rid of him, and I agree, we do need to value the player as a player, not as a Spurs reject, because that's how I think a lot of people do. I mean, if they're paying
But he is a
1.8 million
Spurs
just to
reject.
loan him, yeah, but if they're paying 1.8 million to loan
But
him,
he is a
and
Spurs
you can't
reject.
say no, I know, but you've got that's what I'm saying. You've got to separate the two
Right.
because
But
he
you've
is. But if
also
they
got to
paid
say
1.8 mil to loan him, so
which is
he's more
probably
valued more than
towards the
3
transfer.
million. Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
but
a different conversation, then, isn't it? That's what I'm saying.
that's what they
If-
do with a lot of transfers like that. The money they
No,
put
I
towards the
agree.
transfer, they knock it off the price. So just so I can go on to the next one. So we all just agree
Yeah.
on 5 million, and that's pushing it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
5 mil.
Okay.
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 We'll
And
average
for
it
me, that's pushing it. But we got to meet halfway. Right. Chicken Royale. Brian.
Me, listen, I'm already hearing that they want to recoup their money on it. I personally don't see how that happens. I don't see how someone is going to pay 30 million euros for him. I just don't. Okay. You're probably. I would accept anything above 15. Anything above 15, 20. I would take. I just cannot see someone hitting 30 million. What you've got to remember as well with all these deals, and I mean all these deals, is obviously when they're outgoing and we're trying to buy the players in, as we saw with Berahino, we like to pay in instalments with one down payment and whatever. Yeah, when we're the selling club, Daniel Levy wants it all job lot. Like bang, give it to me, or a very, very high percentage of it
Yeah.
be paid first and then the rest in instalments. So it's not the same as getting and I cannot see Daniel Levy taking. I can't see Daniel Levy taking big hits on a lot of people. I really can't. So I would sell him for 15 and above. But I think Spurs would probably be looking at between 15 or about 20, 25 mil. But I would do it for 15.
But how much do you think we would actually get for him? Realistically.
I'll stick with it. I'll stick with 15.
Because I think he's a player that isn't in the top market that we're that desperate to get rid of. I'd put him in the middle to lower one as such, because I think there's more important ones that need to go. Yeah.
Agreed.
James, how much you reckon we get for Chicken Royale? What you think he's worth, but what you think we actually get?
Well, again, we had £25 million bids in January from Saudi, so we actually had bids of 25 million. So they say, yeah. So say again, I'll just quickly put his name in this site, and this site is saying 18 million his value is, that they would average of 18 million. So again, I kind of agree with it. I think that's fair. I think an 18 million pound bid would be good enough for me. I think he's terrible, but again, I think he'll be good in Serie A because he's a good defender. He's crap at everything else.
But the problem is in Serie A, they haven't got that sort of money.
No, I know.
The only ones out there who had money. But you reckon we get 15 million for him, yeah?
Yeah, 15 to 18 million, yeah.
Okay, give me a set number. Makes it easier.
I'll go 18. It's easier.
Okay.
That's what I think.
So Brian,
I think about 18.
Brian, what's your set number?
I said between 15 and 20. I reckon someone somewhere will probably get the higher end of that. I'll push for 20.
Okay. Eugene, how much you reckon he's worth? How much you reckon we get?
Okay, I'll just say I don't care how much he's worth, right?
The
most important thing is how much we get. It doesn't matter how much he's worth, right? Most probably he's just worth a chicken royale, right? But okay, guys, if logically I see this right, Italy doesn't have the money to pay that kind of money, right? If he goes off to Bayern, whether Bayern has the money to pay that kind of money. If he goes off to the Saudi, I will say 20 and above. But if he goes off to the European side, it'll be between. So I'll just average out about 20.
Okay. I mean, with me, I think he's worth about 15, and that's pushing it. Do you know what? Round it off. Let's say 20 mil.
Let's just add as well. This is the chairman. This is where I will give him a bit of praise. Somehow he got 16 million for Kevin Zimmer. So when it comes to selling, he can get the deals done. So I reckon we are looking around 20.
Okay, so I'll go with 20 million for him. I think that's pushing it, but 20 million is 20 million. Davis. Now, Davis for me isn't a player that I think we need to desperately get rid of. Yeah,
Agreed.
I still think he's good enough as a squad player, as a backup player, because you will have some backup players in there. Not that we want it full of backup players and we want to buy backup players, but I think Davis is one we don't need to focus on getting rid of. I think he's on his last year of his contract, and if he goes for a free, I'd be willing to let that happen because I don't think we're desperate to get rid of him. But
Agreed.
if we was to get rid of him, where it's his last year of his contract and that as well, I personally think we'd be lucky to see 5 mil for him. Eugene?
Yeah, 5 to 10. So average it out.
I mean, I'd probably keep him for that last year and let him go for free. That's what I would do personally.
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel Levy will do that. Money.
You think he will?
Nah. He won't keep
James?
him. He'll sell him. If the price is right, he'll sell him.
So what do you reckon? 5 mil?
In between 5 to 10, 7.5 mil. We'll average it out later.
Okay, James?
Yeah, I think 8. I think he actually did really well when he come in, and the only reason he's down to 8 million is because his contract ends. I actually thought he played really well when he was relied on.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with everyone here. I mean, there are a lot more problems that we need to get out the door than Ben Davies. And I'm not talking about his football skills. I'm talking about him around the dressing room. I'm talking about, listen, we've had many, many years where we spoke about the bad eggs and the bad attitudes. One thing you can be assured of, Ben Davies is not one of the ones with the bad attitude, which I think is the bad attitudes are more detrimental to what they're doing off the pitch than what they're actually doing on the pitch. Yeah, I'd probably be around the 7.5. But again, you're looking at teams right now. I think the teams that may be interested in someone like a Ben Davies would be like the 3 promoted teams, like Southampton and Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester. That come in. Listen, you look at Leicester. They brought in Conor Cody from Wolves last season. When you come up, you need that defensive solidity and experience from the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think if he is to go, they're probably. I would actually say I would probably guarantee that we're here in the summer that those 3 teams, or at least 1 or 2 of them, will be sniffing around him. So they'll have the money to do it because they've had the parachute payment, then the massive payment coming up. So I reckon if there is a potential for him leaving, it'll be one of those, and you're probably looking around, like we said, probably a 7.58 million.
Yeah, 8 million. I'll go for that because he's worth.
I've got an idea, right? Most probably Ben Davies, right, will become a part package of us signing Kellen Hudson and boy from Forest.
Yeah, or Carl. What's his name? From Southampton. Yeah, or something like that. But for me personally, depending on what we buy in that, I'd keep Davis and let him go for free because there's a lot worse out there that we need to get rid of. But 8 million, I'll go for that. Right, interesting one here. Højbjerg, he's blatantly going to go. He blatantly wants out. Now, everybody knows he wants to go. Everybody knows we want to get rid of him again. James, how much do you reckon he's worth? How much do you reckon we can actually get?
I think he's worth 17 to 18 million. I think we'll get about 15.
I can go with that. That's pretty much what I'll go with. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, we look at it. I think I will stand to attention for Gaza. There you go, Angelo. I will stand to attention for him. I will. I think we got it for 15, didn't we? 15, and then Walker Peters went for 3 or 5, and it brought the deal. We weren't linked, but we all know. Let's look at it. I would say for what's he been in now? 3, 4 years. Getting older. I would take what we paid for him, and if we can get more, we get more. We look at it. He's one of. I look at it actually, maybe a bit more actually, maybe around the 20. Because if you look at it, there are certain. I can imagine the list you're going through. There are a lot of players that obviously aren't playing final year of the contract, get them out the door. But then there are some players that, in the right team, I think Højbjerg. I loved him in his first 2 seasons. He was incredible under Conte and Mourinho. So he is a player that would actually slot into quite a few football teams. And I think if he is to go, there are a lot of players that obviously aren't playing final year of the contract, get them out the door. But then there are some players that, in the right team, I think Højbjerg. I loved him in his first 2 seasons. He was incredible under Conte and Mourinho. So he is a player that would actually slot into quite a few football teams. Italian football, I think, is perfect, like made for him. Like
It is. I think it is.
it is. He will go on to have a very good career in Italy. So I reckon I'd probably say 15 or maybe up to a 5 million profit. So I'd be a 15 to 20 million is where I think we're at with Højbjerg personally.
I mean, I think we get 15 for 20 for him, sort of thing. So shall we all agree on 18?
Yeah.
Guys, hold on. Højbjerg, right? He has been wanting to leave since January, but I've not seen any solid links for him. That's my biggest fear.
There's a couple. Juventus want him.
Summer, mate.
And all we heard is that Andy fired his agent, so you're not going to hear anything. Obviously, that was dealt with badly last time, so he's obviously fired his agent looking for a new one.
Yeah,
but I think again, and again, as we go through these people, I'm actually going to know their names on this transfer market, and they're saying again 18 million is his value. So we're on the right kind of track.
Yeah,
I mean,
I reckon we see 15
here, James, and you're checking our answers.
Right, next one on the list.
I feel like we're at a school exam and you're checking our answers.
Foul.
Next one on the list here, then, yeah. I mean, he's not necessarily priority, but he's definitely right up there. But there is more important to get rid of. I mean, how I can say this, I don't know. Richarlison. I mean, for me, he doesn't come in quite the same window as Gil, as Tanganga, as Ndombele, because we would still use him, whether I like him or not, ain't the point, yeah? So I'll start with Richarlison. I reckon we can get rid of him and get 30 mil for him from Saudi Arabia. Because the past 2 seasons he's had, where he's basically had one purple patch, whatever people want to call the fucking thing, that's that. I reckon if a Saudi club come in for him, we could see 30 mil for him. Brian?
Well, I'm sticking to my guns, like I've been saying. I've been told for a little while that it's happening to Saudi, and it's pretty near what we paid for it without the add-ons. So it's closer to 50. So it's closer 50, to the 50 mil. From what I've heard, I mean, I know everyone was going mad because someone said to Richarlison, "Are you staying?" And he liked it. These talks are ongoing. Hey, little man. So yeah, I think I'm one that I want us to go get another striker along with Richarlison. Like you said, Dan, I think he's one of the least of our concerns. We need 2 strikers. If he goes, that means we definitely need 2.
Because there's certain games he would have been better for than Son, isn't it?
Yeah, if he goes, it is to Saudi, confirmed, and it will be closer to what we paid than what you just said, Dan. So for this intentional purposes, you've gone 30. I'll go between 40 and 45 is what we're going to get for him.
Okay, James?
I think he's valued, I don't know, but I would take a fiver for him. But I think 30 million maximum value, and I'll take 25. Again, we said about injuries. Again, I'm looking here. He played average of 40 minutes a game, and in those games he only played 27 games. It's pointless. The guy's valueless to us.
Okay, Eugene?
I'm going to go with Brian here, because if it's Saudi, because the links were even higher, I think, during last summer. And
when it's Saudi, you can just throw the money up anyway, can't you? It's like when it used to be
I think around,
sticking extra 10
I think we'll just average it out at, I think all of us will just average it out at 40, just to make it a balance kind of thing.
Yeah, I can agree with that. If a Saudi Arabia club wants him, being Brazil's number 9, everything else and that they've got money to wipe their ass with, basically. They probably don't even use toilet paper. Yeah, I can go with 40 mil.
All right.
Right. Roden. James.
20 million.
Okay. Is that what you rate him as, or is that what you reckon we could get for him? Because the club that wanted him, Leeds, they ain't coming up now.
No, but they were linked with a 20 million bid. I think he's been. I've watched little bits and pieces. I followed a bit of the Championship because obviously now moved to Norwich, and he's been fantastic for them. I think he's found his level, and I think if you're talking about a very good Championship player, you're talking of about 20 million. Yeah, 17 to 20 million, and I think we could get that because he's had a very good season. He hasn't been injured. He's been good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Brian.
Well, I've actually got a Leeds fan who unfortunately was there yesterday. And when he first came, he went to Leeds, he was like, "What we got?"
Brian's
Right.
frozen.
Bye, bro.
I
Brian's
think he's
frozen.
frozen there. Okay, Eugene, I'll come to you then until Brian unfreezes.
To tell the truth, right? If Leeds made it back into the Premier League, most probably it'll be about around 20 or more, right? But they haven't, so I'll put him around 15, 12, 13, 15 kind of scenario. So I'll put it in that bracket, about around 15 at this moment.
With Leeds, I know we said about they're not coming back into the Prem, but they've got some very, very good players that are linked to the Prem. And you're talking 50, 60 million pound players that they're being linked with. So they've got a lot of money. And like you said, if we're gonna say, well, Tottenham know that we need to sell, we know they need a centre back and they're gonna have money to spend. So again, it works both ways.
No, James, to tell the truth, right? I wouldn't mind him traded off for a Somerville or something like that.
100%. 30 million and Rodon for Somerville. 100%.
No. There's a different one I'd rather go for at Leeds. What's his name? Charlie? Is it Charlie? Charlie. I can't remember his bloody name now. The one the young English one they use as a defender and a DM.
I can't remember.
Don't know.
Charlie something. I'm sure his name is, and I can't flip him. I'm terrible at remembering names.
Yeah,
but either way, I wouldn't mind seeing. He's about 21, and potential.
Archie Gray.
Archie Gray, you mean? Yeah, Archie Gray.
No, that's
the young CDM.
That's not.
That's the only one that they've got. That's the only one they've got as centre midfielder. That's Charlie Cresswell, centre back.
That might be him. That might be the one I'm thinking of. He's 21.
Yeah, that's him. He's 21. He's a centre back.
Yeah, that's the one. And they played him as DM as well. And if we use him as an exchange, whatever else, fine. But I could only see him going to maybe someone who's come up, like Southampton. If Leeds want him, where they haven't come up, they're not going to have the money as such. I see us getting about 15 mil for him.
Yeah, we'll average around 15 mil.
I would take Somerville or that Ganato. I think that Ganato's a good striker and all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but
we need wingers, right? You need that actual winger.
We get about 15 mil for him, yeah.
Okay.
Reguilon, for me, he's in the middle, but he needs to go as well because he's definitely deadwood as well.
Yeah, Brentford.
How much you reckon we get for Reguilon?
I mean, if Brentford wants him, right, I think we can get around 15 million for him.
Yeah, he had a very good season for them as well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just looking. He played 25 games for them and got 6 assists. So he had a very good season for them.
Yeah, because he done basically half the season with them, wasn't it? Because he wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, I reckon it's quite an easy one. I reckon we could see 15 million on him as well.
Same. Yeah.
You know, I reckon we could see 15 million for him. I don't reckon that's a bad call. Next one, Brian Gill. How much is he worth? How much do you think we can actually get for this man?
8 million.
We spent nearly 40 million pounds on this. This is gonna be a big hit. And to tell you where is he gonna go, right? He's not gonna be in he'll go back to Spain. That's how I see.
He is injured a lot.
And yeah, he's injured quite a lot. And
he's a good player for Spain. He'll be a good player for Spain.
Hill, I think
when he went there, he hardly played, didn't he?
Yeah, if he goes back to Spain, if a Spanish team wants him, we can get him off for about 15 mil.
Because you've got to remember, Spain isn't good with the money either, apart from Barcelona and Real Madrid. Not even Atletico have got money to throw about anymore. Not that they ever really did, but they used to be always willing to pay very high on the wages as such. But basically, that's the problem with Europe at the moment, really. There is no other team in Europe that has really got anything close to the Premiership to throw about unless you put like the biggest club from each league. Our middle club, like teams have got more money than basically every team in Spain, bar Paris Saint-Germain, that they can throw
Agreed.
about. This is one of the problems of selling it. I mean, so what are you
Agreed.
saying? 8 million, Eugene?
No, I think about 15 million.
Okay. And Brian Gill?
Yeah, let me just quickly say with Joe Rodon very, very quickly, like when it
Okay,
cut off,
go on, mate,
about that. With Joe Rodon, my friend who is a Leeds fan literally was saying to me when we first signed him, or they first signed him, what kind of player have we got? Told him all season to back up what James was saying. He was messaging me saying, "Thank you so much for Joe Rodon. Thank you so much for Joe." He has done incredibly well in the Championship, and where James said 20 million for him,
and he said he wants to stay there as well, didn't he?
I think we might have got 20 million if Leeds had come up. I think that they haven't, and I think Leeds is, like you said, where his heart is right now. I think you're looking closer to 15, but take it away.
That's what we agreed on, basically.
I actually think Joe Rodon could have done it at Spurs. I actually... Listen, I don't think... Listen, would I have taken Skriniar or Diaz over him? Of course I would have. But people forget, when Jose got sacked, he was being our best defender. He literally... and then Jose was rotating every 4 games for some reason. I think there is a player there. But I think you can clearly see, like James said, he has been incredible in the Championship. I just don't think it's a 15. But listen, Brian Hill, from what I'm hearing, they're talking with Dutch clubs, and it's around the 6 million. We're talking
lucky for 8.
We're talking about players. Like I said, a lot of this. What we've got to remember, it's not how much we can get.
Was it Feyenoord been looking at him, innit?
Yeah, Feyenoord have been, but now that they've lost Arne Slot, will they continue to look at him is another thing.
True, very true.
What you've got to look at, like I've said as well, there's certain players we need to get off the books. We just need to get him off the books. It hasn't worked. We keep sending him out on loan. When he does play, he doesn't get a run. He hasn't done enough to warrant a run. There are certain players we just need to get off the books and say, right, we've made a cock up here. We're going to need to take a hit. You look at someone like Tanganga, pure profit. If we get our money back for Højbjerg, if we get our money back for Rodon, there's certain players you've got to be willing to say, right, listen, we're not. Well, if you look at it, we paid £23 million or euros, I can't remember which one, plus Lamela. We're not getting our money back.
No, but this is where for me, not Ange, Paratici gets away with it, gets a short straw a little bit, because say for example we want Jimenez from Feyenoord. Okay, well we'll give you 15 million or 20. If we value Jimenez at 30 million, for example, we'll give you 20 million plus Hill. Or if we want Somerville from Leeds, you can have Rodon. We value Somerville at 35 million. We'll give you 15 million and Rodon. This is where we've got to be. If they're worth nothing to us, we've got to try and make them worth something to them. If that makes sense.
It's a good point, Dave. Well done, sir.
I mean, for Gill, I reckon we'd be lucky if we see 8 million back from him.
That's what I said. 8, yeah.
So we'll agree on 8 million, and for me, that's like being lucky. Next one, Spence.
Oh, 15 million.
10 million. He's got a buyout clause, doesn't he, for 10 million? And I think they'll activate that because I think he's worth that to them.
I think we'd be lucky if we see that for him, to tell the truth. But the fact
he had a good season.
That he's English is a good thing. And to one of the upcoming clubs, I could see him being an all right buy for him and that. I mean, if that's the buyout clause and they've got that little bit of money, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Joe, this signing intrigues me. This signing really does intrigue me because, again, maybe there is a player there, but it was a club signing. And since we made that club signing, we've had 3 different managers. And from what I heard, he had a major bust up when he left in January, like a huge bust up. I don't think he has a future at Spurs at all whilst Ange is there.
No.
Whilst Ange is there, I don't see him even training with the first team, let alone bloody playing. So it's, what did we pay in the end? 12.5 or 15, something like that?
Around about 14, 15.
Again, like you said, 10 million pound. If James is right, I didn't know there's a release clause, but I trust James. And if that's the deal, again, you look at it, Dan, and you say Italy hasn't got a lot of money. Does Genoa have £10 million to throw about and go, yeah, we'll activate his clause. But he's another one that I just, as long as Ange is here, I don't see any point in him being at Spurs.
There's going to be about 6 Italian clubs that have got a little bit more money than usual because 6 of them have actually qualified for the Champions League.
True.
Yeah, so there's going to be a couple of them that have got a bit more than usual. I mean, Roma, you'd expect to be a club with a lot of money. They're really not.
Yeah.
But they have got Bologna, they haven't got a
guys, since he's already in Genoa, right? Aren't we supposed to be linked to a striker there? What, Goodmanson or something like that? Maybe they will strike a deal there, right? Because to tell the truth, all these players I see now, right? Whether they can go off with actual purchases, right? I've been quite skeptical because we are looking at a whole bunch of them leaving. But a lot of them, let's say we can, like what James said, 50 million, he's worth 15 million. You throw in another 30 million pounds, you get a striker or some kind of deal that we can actually build up from there. But Spence, we chased, not we chased him. Levy chased him for about 6 months, right? When Conte said no. And we got him for about 15 to 20 million pounds from Nottingham Forest. Was it Middlesbrough? Not Nottingham Forest, yeah. Middlesbrough. I guess you're lucky we get 10 million pounds for him from Genoa, right?
Genoa wants it. Bologna, they've been good this season. They're not a big club, not at all. They're no bigger than Fiorentina or any of the other ones or Atalanta and that. But they've had a very, very good season by their standards, without a doubt. I think they finished 4th, 5th, something along those lines. But they're actually in the Champions League this year, which is probably the first time they've ever been in it. But for Spence, you reckon we'll get his call out of 10 mil?
Yeah, I think we just.
I mean, this is starting to add up. I mean, at the moment we're on 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 130. I mean, we're on 138 at the minute. So, but it's whether we actually, this is what we're saying we think they're worth. Next one, Lo Celso. Where do we go with him? What is he worth and what can we get for him? Eugene.
Lo Celso, he's been linked to Atletico Madrid, right? Is he linked there? Or Real Betis?
Is the main
he's going back to Betis. He's going back to Betis. I think 10 to 15 million pounds. I'll go 10.
Brian?
What we'll also very quickly say again, what you just mentioned with the money we're allocating and coming up with to say that will be available, it's all well and good. It's when these transfers, if these transfers go through. That's what I was going to bring
up at the end.
Yeah, that's the next one. So where are we, Lo Celso?
Yeah, because some of these players, everyone knows we want to get rid of them, and they might even leave it to the last day of the season to say, right, he ain't going for jack shit, so there's 5 million, like it or lump it, isn't it?
I think you will get 15 for him. There is talks that apparently a new contracts in the offing. If it is, it's one of the most bizarre contracts I can think of, because we've seen when he goes out on loan that when he's gone to Spain, he doesn't get injured. But when he's at Tottenham, he does get injured. And that's not just been under Ange. So I know we've had a problem with Ange. That's been every manager we've had with Gio Lo Celso. He just hasn't been able to stay fit. But he does when he goes to Spain. So I reckon a Spanish team will easily pay 15 up to maybe even 20 for him, because there really is a player there. There really
it took Thingy to Europa League final. Was it final or semi-final? Yeah. He's a good player, man. I think he's our best number 8 at the club, personally.
He again, this is the thing. I mean, you look at it, he played against Manchester City, and he came on, I think, in the 80-something minute, and he couldn't play at Sheffield United because he got injured. He just cannot on English soil. And you just have to look at, a lot of people say it. You go speak to Leo Messi, and you ask him to talk about Gio Lo Celso, and he'll wax lyrical about him, saying he's a great player, he's brilliant for Argentina. So there is, big up Craig, brother, big up my man. So there is a player there, and I think we can easily get 15 to 20 for him, easy.
Yeah, Eugene.
I was thinking about 10, 15, depending where he's going, right? So I think we're just averaging out 15.
I think his biggest letdown is, again, his injury ratio, which is terrible. Seems like every time he goes out to Argentina, like Destiny 5 said, he always comes back battered, basically. But he always gets in the Argentina team. So that's got to tell you something as well. I mean, I reckon we could see 15 mil for him. James?
I'm going to go with 18 mil. I think we will get, but I actually think he'll have one good season elsewhere and he'll be worth £30 million plus.
Like what we paid, basically.
Yeah.
So, just going with all these then, on a basic, we're looking at 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 130, 40. We're basically looking at 150 sitting there just by what we've done, which isn't actually that far from the 200 million that people were saying. But whether we'd actually get this for these players, and on the business side, this is just what we think, and I think they're pretty fair, what we've said on here. It's just more down to the fact of the business side of it. Everybody knows, everyone knows, we need at least 3/4 of these people gone. We need them gone, not just want them gone. They've got to be gone, one way or another.
It's not just that, Dan. You know what it is as well? It's the wages you're going to get back from 16 players leaving. The wages is going to be astronomical.
Yeah. But again, it's getting rid of these players that is going to be the problem. And others, I feel with a couple of these players, you're going to get ones like if Real Betis come in for Lo Celso, they're going to basically say, we want you to pay 40% of their wages. And that's going to be, we're still making money, saving money in the end of it. But I think there's going to be a couple of these that we're still going to end up paying part of their wages. Because even when it's not just on loan, even when someone buys a player, they can still put the deal in there. You've got to pay 20%, 30% of his wages while he's on contract with us. How will this end up? How will this work out?
Then just a question for you. How many players have we talked about? 10?
About 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players we've named so far. And I've probably, we have, Skip hasn't even come into it.
Solomon
ain't going nowhere. He was a freebie, and I don't see him going anywhere fast. And Skip, I don't think we'll get rid of him. For me, he's just going to be one of them ones that we end up keeping because he's English. Same as I reckon we might even keep Spence because he's English. Yeah. But the other way we could do it is get rid of the pair of them and bring in the youth team. Because this is when I take this team serious. When we go and buy 3 quality players who can walk into that team, get rid of as much crap as we can, use some of the youth team to back up the squad as such. All right, it might not go perfect, but then get to January, get another good player. Next window, get rid of the rest of the crap, bring in another 3 quality players. Then we can start looking at building up a very good squad. But it's like the other point I make. We get rid of all of these, and with players we buy, well, we get rid of 11 players here. That's quite a few we got to fill in the squad, and we're not going to go for all quality. But we just seem to, my way of describing it, like I did on Alan's, we seem to go shopping in Aldi's to get a pair of jeans that don't even last a night out, let alone a night in the wash. And then we go to Lidl's to try and get another pair.
Can I just say one thing? I've just gone onto my Twitter, and you know I said about the Leeds fan? The Leeds fan has literally just put on my Twitter, Brian, what would you do? 15 million plus Joe Rodon for Willie Gnotto from Leeds.
I just said that.
And one of my mates has literally just said, I mean, there's also talk of Somerville as well, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I just said. They're the two I just said, the left winger and the striker, both of them.
Is that striker the French one?
Yeah, I think he's like African, or he might become under football. I know he's from there, sort of that sort of area, but
he's like Senegal.
Yeah. But anyway, boys, I've got to shoot and go back to work.
Yeah, all right, mate. Enjoy your day at work. See you later.
Take care, lads.
See you later.
So, with all that, there is money there to be made one way or another. I personally think with this whole thing, we're going to have to, we will take a significant kick on a few of the players because they know we're so desperate to bloody get rid of them. And then it comes down to what you said as well, Brian, of basic. I've just lost my own words there. Basically, of how long are they going to wait before they buy them? Because they know we are that desperate to get rid of them. How long are the transfers going to wait to go through? And we do know Levy is not fast when it comes to that stuff.
This is it.
And then getting players in as well. It's good, like you say, this is going to be a very, very hard, but very, very important window, without a doubt.
Yeah,
and if we get rid of them, it is. That's what everyone's been saying. I mean, Brian, it was like you.
I've been saying this. Yeah, but the thing is that
with us in the Europa.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we come to this juncture where we have this 11 players, right? It could be more, right? We haven't encountered Skip, as you were saying. Maybe there's a few more, right? If the money is good, will we let them go, right? Will they be the core of the squad, right? Players like Ndombele, Reguilon, all those fringe players is a sure must get rid of, right?
They're in the top list, basically.
Yeah, they won't basically affect that first team squad kind of scenario. But once you step into that first team squad scenario that we had last season, players like Gio, who else is in there? Yeah, right, and a couple of of course, Chicken Royale, right? All these players, right? If we do get rid of them and get quality to back them up, then of course I'm very happy. But what scares me now, guys, is that if these players all we can get rid of, right, and our great chairman will turn around, oh, there's your transfer budget. I need that transfer budget, which I promise you now, right, to build the hotels. Guys, take it off.
That mate, it just
he could turn around and do that, right? Instead of getting the 150 million cash, right, that was parked for buying players, and we're successful in selling all these dead wood, right? And he'll turn around and say, I don't think you need 150 now.
Exactly.
I'll cut it down to 60, right? Then you just use that money there.
you just don't know what to expect of this prick, Mr. Levy, do you? At the end of the day, you just really don't know what to expect. But right, I'm going to cut it from there because I've got a few things I've got to do. Brian, where do we find you? I think everybody already knows, but still, where do we find you? When?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going live in 3 hours at 4 p.m. UK time. Do another one from my heart. So I might have a couple of guests on. First of all, from the heart was going to be me talking about a certain poll I put on Twitter and the nuclear meltdown of sections of this fan base, because I will be addressing the civil war that's going on with this because it's pathetic and getting out of hand on both sides. I will be talking about the Lord, our Saviour, Paul Gascoigne, and happy birthday to him. And then tomorrow I've got a really good show on with people. I think he's been on your show, Danny and Meth, who I've got a lot of time for.
I think he has.
Meth is.
I think he came on with a group, if I remember right.
He's a really, really good guy. He doesn't see where we see football the same way and how it should be played and players. We disagree on the board. He's not one of those that just. He calls it as he sees it, and he's very. So we're doing our version of State of the Union tomorrow. The players, then the manager and his backroom team, and then of course the man up top and the people around him. So that's going to be a very, very good show. But I will be doing it from the heart in just under 3 hours on Tottenham on Tour.
Okay.
And cheers for Eujin, brother.
No, it's always a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up and do the, in my honest opinion, episode 2, right? And just do a season review and let's see whether we can move on from there, right? And if Brian will have me on in 3 hours' time, I'll join him, right? And don't forget, Ian Meth, right, has been with us this past 2-3 seasons, right? And he has always been a very strong Levy supporter in the beginning. But after a while being with us, right, we've been able to push him onto the fence. Right? So Ian is a good guy, right?
He's a very good guy.
He's a good guy, and he comes onto my channel most of the time. The last watch along we did, he was with us, right? Dan, remember when we did the Australian?
I think so. Yeah, I know who you're on about. Yeah.
He was on because we were doing the watch along, but after when it became crowded, he left, right? Because he left after
It can
that.
be hard to deal with 9 people on there. Okay,
yeah.
I'll be doing
And
shows
don't forget, guys,
again
subscribe to Spursvision TV, Brian's channel, Tottenham on Tour, and the HotspurHood, guys, right? And don't forget, smash the likes. And as
thank
always,
you. And always fun to have you on here as well, Eugene. You're both always welcome. You know that. Same as anybody else is on here to give their opinions. Anyone is allowed their opinions, as far as I'm concerned. And if I don't ask for it much,
he will. Scott, he will, and he has, and he does. Maybe not as much as many people like to, but listen, he does. He does, and I take what he says sometimes very, very, very seriously, because there are times where he will call out the board and say it's not on. He's just not as volatile and vocal as I am.
Brian.
Trusted to come from Anthony Clark, the Arsenal man.
Yeah.
No,
Brian,
he always comes on here to say hello, so it's appreciated.
Yeah, damn right. Damn right.
Brian, I'll let you know, right? Ian Meth, right, has actually said Levy out, right, on my channel before when he was really angry at one period of time.
he will call it.
Yeah, he will call it.
Okay. And so I'll be doing some shows in the future. Got setting up a couple at the moment. It's not so easy now that the league's not on, and had to take off a bit of time here and there, medical reasons. Doing this 24/7 doesn't help, and I don't think it helps a lot of people. Actually, this is actually more draining than I think some people actually realise. I thought it's just like talking down the pub, but it does actually take a bit of energy out of you doing this at times. So if people, I don't ask for it much, but give us a like and subscribe. It is appreciated. I'm nearly at my 3K. Seems to be going up to 295 and then down to 285 all the time. It's quite annoying.
Guys, I forgot to say this, right? Thanks for all the support, right, guys? At last, I've reached 500 subs.
Oh, well
Well
done.
done, bro. Well done.
Nice one. And so if people give us a like and subscribe, it's appreciated. And Brian, I leave the last bit down to you.
And as always, Levy out.
Have a good
Levy
day,
out.
people.